Welcome, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
This is Michael Gibbs, and we have a show coming for you tonight. A timely show, a critical show of things that we're really excited to talk to you about. We're going to be talking about tech career success factors, tech career management, and how to get hired in a recession. This week so far, I've been notified that 4 of my students have been hired, and anytime I hear a cloud hired, I'm excited. Chris is excited, Elonzo is excited, but 4 people and the U.S. is in a recession right now. A recession is defined as 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. And not only have we had 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, we've had some of the highest inflation levels in 40 years. And if we adjust that GDP growth for inflation, it looks even worse. So we're going to help you build your cloud computing career, and you can get hired in a recession, and you don't need to get laid off. Quite frankly, I've never been laid off in 25 years. And in addition to that, I've never had a client that's not true. I had one client that get laid off. He had a 6-figure severance and a $300,000 job within a week. So you can get hired in a recession. So we'll talk about tech layoffs, tech company layoffs within a week. We've got some echo. Somebody's got some speakers playing.
Somebody's got the video playing in the background.
I don't know where that could be coming from. So somebody please mute your video. We will talk about layoffs in tech, getting hired in a recession. We'll talk about the recession-proof tech jobs, because there is a recession-proof job, because some are fairly recession-proof. And at the same time, we'll talk about how to make money in a recession, how not to get laid off in a recession, and the best tech jobs in a recession. So we're going to have lots of fun. Now, tonight, actually, before we do that, let me tell you about a few things that we have. On September 9th, we've got a LinkedIn and a resume workshop. And in a recession, having a good resume and LinkedIn profile is good for you. If you don't have recruiters and hiring managers literally knocking on your door every single day, harassing you constantly, you need a resume makeover. So at that point, you still have to have the requisite capabilities to get hired. I mean, a perfect resume won't get you hired on its own, but if you've got the skills, it'll make the world come to you. So we've got a resume workshop and a LinkedIn workshop. My students get hammered with interviews. In fact, if you were here last week when we spoke to Delroy, or was it 2 weeks ago, and I asked him if he applied for any of the cloud security architect jobs he had, he said, I didn't apply. He taught me how to fix my resume, and everybody came to me. So we're doing that. Now, on Thursday, we're going to hold our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. People come in from around the world, and I will tell you how to get your first job. I will tell you how to leverage your life experience for maximum career success. I will tell you what hiring managers dream about. And you know what? If you're what they need and dream about, you will get hired. Now, at the same time, I will tell you what needs to be on your resume and how your resume needs to be tuned to be seen for what it really is. I will tell you the actual skills you need to know to get hired. And when we're done that, I'll tell you to skip HR if you don't get auto-rejected for lack of experience and get your resume directly in the hands of the hiring manager. So all great things coming your way, and it's a completely free webinar. Now, we are going to be producing a lot more YouTube videos coming your way, a lot more. I asked my video editor how much he could do, and wow, we've got a lot more coming your way, and lots of blogs coming your way, and a lot more content to help you build your cloud computing career. So please follow us on LinkedIn. And you know what? If you want to get your first cloud architect job or your first cloud engineer job, join one of our programs and get cloud hired today. Well, not today, when you finish the program, and then you'll be cloud hired. So tonight, I'm excited to have a show. We're going to talk about timely things, how to get hired in a recession, but we've got me, who you know. We've got Chief Operating Officer Chris, who you know. And we've got Elonzo, who you know. All, interestingly enough, have MBAs and have a fair amount of business acumen. And tonight, we're really lucky. We have Dr. Johnson, who happens to also be Chris's father, who was a business executive himself and then has been teaching MBAs for like 20 years while doing consulting. So now we've got Professor Johnson here, which I'm really excited about. So he brings a wealth of experience, a wealth of teaching knowledge. And you know what? It's all about bringing you the best to truly improve what you do. That's why we're having this Head in the Cloud show. So Dr. Johnson, would you like to introduce yourself for about a minute? And then we'll get to the show.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, thank y'all for having me and inviting me. I think Chris did a little bit of arm twisting, you know how that is. And the way he got me to really agree to this stuff, he said it in front of his mother. So you know how that works. So, but I've been teaching I've been teaching in the college arena for almost 40 years. And my focus when I teach, I don't teach at a research university. I teach at a teaching university. I've always done that because I believe that my job is to prepare students to be successful in what we call the real world. You've heard that comment before. So I believe in teaching to the practitioner. Okay, my research is to the practitioner, how to help people in business and how to help the students in business. So if you can see, you see a polo shirt. This is about all they get in the classroom because I fully believe that if I go in dressed up in a three-piece suit, then I've just added barriers to communication to these kids, or should I say young people? I'm sorry. And, developing relationships, developing networks, teaching these students how to do that, and making them successful and taking what they say in the book. Sometimes I tell them, throw it out. This is how it is in the real world. So at times I get in kind of conflict with some of my colleagues because I look at them, I say, well, when was the last time you had a real job? Real world experience. So that's a little bit about me. Feel free to ask me any questions. I will promise you this. If I don't have the answer, I'll tell you. I don't make stuff up because I feel like people can see right through that. And you'll learn that when you go out trying to get a job. Be honest, be forthright.
Wow. Such really good and powerful advice. Seriously.
You wonder where my knowledge comes from.
You wonder where Chris comes from. And you wonder why we're so excited to have him here. When I did a certification boot camp 2 weeks ago, and I remember I said, well, this is the service they want you to use, but we can't use it for these reasons. Now, this is really this. Let's not talk about this. And it's the same reason I'm not here in a suit as well. And Chris is not and Elonzo's not. If I meet with a client, sure, but we don't need any barriers to entry, to barriers to people talking about us. And when I have to wear a suit, it's unbuttoned. I mean, anything we can be to open up, we want to be more approachable. So, pretty interesting topic. Now, this is a passion project for me because I know what it takes to hire people. And I also know what it takes to get laid off. And, when it really comes down to it, employers are looking for the following things. And then I'd like us all to discuss it. I've asked thousands of hiring managers over the years, what do they want? And they say, I want someone that can do the job, Mike. And I say, what do you mean? And I've always asked, even though I already knew the answer, a lawyer never asks the question that they don't know the answer to. So I've got the answer and I say, why? And they're like, Mike, I can't find anybody that knows how to do anything. It's like, I need them to do this, and then I have to do this, and this, but not this. It's like they're too scattered. And, I want to get us to talk about that as a group. And then they say, I want somebody I can trust. You know what most people do in a job interview? They lie to me. I mean, they lie to their boss, and people can see, as you just said it, Dr. Johnson, right through it. If they don't sense authenticity, it's over. You're fired or you're not hired, whatever the case is. And then they want someone that, knows what they know and knows what they don't know. I mean, I was talking to a young person the other day. She seemed very smart, and she was talking about something, and it was as if she was an expert. And I said, what's your background in this? And because it was all wrong, but she had such confidence. She said, I watched a YouTube video. She didn't even know what she didn't know. And, when I see the certification providers that are teaching courses, they're so ridiculous. They don't even know what they don't know. And then, when we get to the next thing, it comes from Jack Welch, but we all want it, that energy, enthusiasm. But think about it. If you're going to hire someone to work on your farm, to work in your data center, to work in your store, do you want someone that just wants to take a nap and complain about work-life balance? Or do you want someone that's there, that's excited to work? And then there's this whole concept, and I want us to all discuss them, emotional intelligence, or they used to call it energizers. There's two kinds of people that walk into them. There's this guy or girl. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Layoff. Fired. First person out of the room, they're toxic. And then there's the person that says, hi, everybody. How are we today? Oh, let's get things done. Like Chow on my team. She raises the energy and makes everybody feel better. So what else do they want? And the last two things are team players. I've never done anything great by myself. Ever. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Everything good takes a team. So we need team players. And then there's this last critical success factor. Someone who's willing to go above and beyond. And I got to tell you, when people get laid off and layoff times, and we're in recessions, it's not the person that's asking for work-life balance that's surviving. It's the person that manager knows at the end of the day, I will do whatever it takes to make sure you, hiring manager, are successful and the company's successful. So there's that. But, let's get into, let's take it from a different perspective. Dr. Johnson, when you teach, and in your years of consulting for what, a half a century for the most part? You said 40 years of teaching.
He said it, not me.
He said 40 years of teaching, which then means you ran businesses before this. So, you've got a wealth of experience to teach us, not just a PhD. You've got experience. What are you saying in terms of competency of related to people when you go out there, when you teach? Are people focused, or are they just all over the place?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when everything was a whole different, complete set of mentality here. When they would come in, they were ready to go to work and so forth. What I am seeing now, unfortunately, a lot of the folks coming in, it's kind of like you owe me attitude. Mm-hmm. Give me, give me, give me. I have students that will walk into my class and they'll say, Dr. Johnson, you have to do so-and-so. And I say, you can stop right there. I don't have to do I can't have to do a blasted thing. But what you got, you got to change that mentality. You've got to go into the place. And the worst thing that that a student could ever say, or an employee can ever say, in my opinion, is, well, that's not my job. That's somebody else's job. You go to the local Walmart. I've gone up and asked for help. Well, that's not my department. I didn't ask you if it was your department. I asked for help. If you don't know, find somebody that does, or at least put forth an effort. I'll come back. But the mentality nowadays, and I'm not saying all my students are bad, and I'm not saying all employees are bad, but I see that trend is developing where it's more or less you owe me. And I want to come to work at 9. I want to go home at 5. I was watching Fox News the other day, and they were talking about what some of the benefits some of these companies are giving these students or people to stay at work. House in the Hamptons, massages. We'll bring your food in. And I'm going, are you kidding me? No, what you want is somebody that will, if they're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, they're there at 7:30 or earlier. I fully believe to be on time is to be late. End of discussion. If you're supposed to be there at 5, you better be there at 4:45, 4:30, and that type of stuff. But, I'm not your daddy. I'm your leader. I don't like to use the word boss. I don't like the word manager. I like the word leader.
Me too.
And that's my job, is to guide you in the right direction. Identify those. For example, if you were hiring, you were to call me up and say, this is what I'm looking for. Then, as Chris can tell you, my reputation is I will turn around and call back and say, I'm sending you one name. If you don't hire this person, don't call me back. I'm sending you the best. They've got it. So, but they're all over the place. My biggest challenge is to change that mentality and that outlook of being a entitled group of people. So yeah, I'm pretty demanding. If I say you're taking a test on this day, oh, well, I got a headache, or I got a ball game, or, I stubbed my toe. Well, guess what? Get over it. Suck it up. Now, I do understand deaths and family and, that type of stuff. I'm not completely cold-hearted, although my students might disagree with that. But, I do have a heart somewhere. But that's,
you're also left-handed, so it's a little bit more difficult to find it.
Yeah, well, there you go. But anyway, when I go to the doctor, he takes the blood pressure. I say, don't bother. There's no heartbeat. But anyway, but, I push my students very hard, because when they get out there and they get a job, it's going to be difficult. Yep. I sit there and ask my students, I say, look, if I ask you in a job interview, tell me a little bit about yourself, what are you going to tell me? And you know what they come back with? I was born in this town. I went to school here. My grades are I got that. I know that. What I want to know is, what are you going to do for me? Yeah. How can you make my company better, more profitable? Show me the money. You take care of me, I take care of you.
So they tell me about yourself question on interviews.
Yeah.
It's not where you grew up, what you played.
No.
Yeah, it's exactly what he just said. It's
what are we going to do?
What can you do to help us with our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats? What can you do to help us? What do you bring to the table? But I want to point something out that he started off with. He said 20 or 30 years ago that it was like this. Now it's like this. It's not from my perspective, it's not an age thing. It's the entire society. It's not that. So you 60-year-old people that are your age, that people that are Mike's age, people that are my age, people that are Elonzo's ages, have those same expectations and those same tendencies. Well,
look at the news. Turn the news on. It's always give me, give me, give me.
Yeah. So I wanted to make that clarification for anyone that's watching, that it's not a generation or an age thing. It's the entire force has changed to that. Yeah. So I know Mike was about to say something.
It was two things that I was going to say on. It's what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And every time we go to the job interview, so like on resumes, people used to say, put an objective on your resume. And I say, get rid of that. An objective is telling the employer, this is what I want. Instead, we tell our students, we teach our students to write an executive summary. And then an executive summary show how we can help the employer. Because it's got to be what you can do for them. If it's my objective is to learn to be good at this, well, I'm not paying for your education by hiring you.
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly right. And I'll tell you something else that a lot of folks have gotten away from, but I still believe in, is a good, strong cover letter.
Yes.
It helps with you can only put so much on the resume, in my opinion, but when you get that cover letter, you get to address everything they're looking for and how you can do it. And then when you get into the interview and then they start talking about, why should I hire you? I hear that question a lot. Why should I hire you? Well, what you should be able to do is say, well, as you can see from my resume, this is what I've done in the past, and this is what I can do. Talk about projects, talk about leadership, talk about communication. Tell me what you've done and how you can apply it to my organization. It doesn't. It's not that difficult to do. It's just that people aren't taught how to do it.
I like the cover letter for the following reason. It's your elevator pitch that it forces you to pre-make. And then when they ask you, it's your closing elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And, destiny favors the prepared. But, you said something else. There's an expression that I always use that says, early is on time is late, and late is never acceptable. And the key is, when a manager knows that you care, and if you show up on time, they know you care. And you mentioned one thing, which is if you want to get laid off, just say, that's not my job.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
I mean, that's the surest way to getting laid off. I don't care if I was cleaning the kitchen in a restaurant. And truth be told, while I was practicing internal medicine, one day I went to visit my family, I was in the restaurant, and I started cleaning the back because it needed to be cleaned because my family members needed to be done. And, one of the people there was like judgmental to me. And I'm like, wait. I'm like, you need to leave right now. And he said, what do you mean? Because he mistreated me because I was cleaning. I said, well, first, we own this place. Secondly, this is not my world. But third, you don't believe here. I'm taking care of my family. You've got some attitude. You think that you would think not my job. Goodbye. We don't need your business. Because it's all about, being really great.
And I tell a lot of my folks too, and I say, look, don't wait to be asked to do something. If you see something that needs to be done, then do it. In the long run, that's going to come back to be beneficial to you, especially on your annual evaluation, which I have a whole nother opinion about annual evaluations. We won't get into that. But anyway, don't wait to be asked to do something or told to do something. If you see it, do it. It will be remembered.
Oh, yeah. See it. Don't just bring a problem to your manager. Bring them a solution.
Well, that's what I tell them all the time. If you come with me I even tell my faculty that when I was chair, they come in, well, we got this problem. I said, well, how are you going to solve it?
Yeah.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
I'll help you talk it out. but you got to solve it.
Yeah, if you have the intelligence to observe that there's an issue, then automatically reverse engineer that process and come up with a solution. You have to, I believe, you don't execute your job. You skip level it. You execute your job according to the level of quality and level of job that you will want to have later on in life. Just don't do just enough. My dad always told me, it's like doing just enough just shows you how limited your imagination is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can see it works. I remember I took a job with a switching company and a routing company about 20 some years ago. And I was there for 5 days and they announced a 30% layoff. 5 days. And I was thinking, all right, well, I'll get my resume out. 2 weeks later, I'll have a job. And I got a call from my manager. And he says, Gibbs, he was from the Marine Corps. He says, you're safe. And I'm like, huh? He says, you're safe. And I said, thank you, Joe. I've been here 5 days. Why am I safe? And he says, you're working on the most strategic project. He said, you went in there. Nobody could figure it out before you. You're there. The code's not working. You're super polite around the customer. He said, you go back, you call the CEO of our company, you mobilize half of the resources of the company to get the job done. And you've got such good leadership skills. You've solved so much, you are safe. Now, I'd been at that company for 13 more layoffs, but the reason was he said, look, I know you've been working 16-hour days. He said, I know you won't quit until the mission is done. And he said, that's what I need on my team. I don't need excuses. And I don't, he says, everybody has them and they all stink. And he said, I need somebody that'll just do what? He said, I asked you what to do. You just said how much. And I said, how fast? And I did it. So it's all done.
I'll tell you something else that I try to instill is, even in a job interview, sometimes, and I'm sure it's more prominent in your industry, which I know very little about, but, sometimes when you're doing a job interview, they give you a test to see if you can do what you say you can do, or they give you a situation and how would you solve this issue and that type of stuff. And I tell my students, so when I do that, I give them an example and I say, here, pretend you're like an interview. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes, come up with a solution. And they'll come up and this is the what I'm trying to teach. They'll come up with a solution. They'll tell me what it is. And I'll look at them and say, well, that sounds pretty good. We can't afford it. What else you got? And the look on their face is, you better have something else in that back pocket.
Yeah.
You better be able to say, okay, since I gave you my best, you need to understand second, third, and fourth solutions may not be optimal, but they may be affordable. But you got to have something. Don't just have one thing and go. You shoot it one time and you're out.
Yeah.
They're wanting somebody that can think, be prepared, have some backup plans.
Exactly. And I want to add to that. So on these interviews, yes, they do test you. So we call it architects design, present, and sell. Solution architects design, present, and sell. Now, why people are learning to code and DevOps and SysOps, that's somebody else's job. That's just ridiculous. But our job is to design, present, and sell. So it's normal for them to give an architecture presentation. Normal. And make you present it, a solution that you design yourself, and sell it back. That's part of the interview. People think they're going to get a coding test. They're not. They're going to get this test. And it's normal for them to throw roadblocks at you. In one that I actually had, they actually started an argument intentionally in the middle of the presentation. Literally, the people I was presenting to were screaming at each other. And I took a deep breath and I solved it. And as soon as I was done, the director of the company had said, and the director of the organization said, Mike, thanks. He said, I just wanted to see if you can handle it. I wanted to see if you could calm and diffuse audience. I wanted to check your emotional intelligence. He told it something different. And he said, that was it. That was the goal. And I've been on another interview where they asked me questions for an hour just to see I had a breaking point. And when I finally said, I don't know, that was when I was hired. They were so used to people lying and lying and lying. You've done a lot of interviews. How many people do you see lie on these interviews?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, were you talking to my dad about that one?
Yes.
So I think, I think he's got more experience with interview prep than. Well, no, he's he's interviewed professors for jobs. Have you had any that professors that have lied or been untruthful? And
Well,
how obvious is it to you?
it was very obvious. There's no doubt. You can't bull. Oh boy, I almost messed up. Said something else. Oh man.
You can't BS a BSer. You
can't BS a BSer. You know what I'm saying and everything. But it comes across very easily and everything. And if I can spot that with a professor, somebody's got a PhD. Imagine what somebody that's been out there in the industry, that's the hiring manager, that's done it hundreds, if not thousands of times. When this kid comes in, or they don't have to be a kid, it can be someone with experience. They can see that. They can go through it, because I tell you what, I asked that leading question and you get some kind of broad answer, then you start digging down in the weeds and they can't answer it, and they should be able to answer it. It's not that difficult, and sometimes I have cut a 30-minute interview off in 10 minutes. I'm done, because I'm not gonna waste my time. I got other things to do.
Yeah.
Because as you well know, I'm sure y'all cover this and everything. When you're trying to hire somebody for a position, the last time I checked the data and so forth, it's about 2 times, if not 2.5 times, that salary that you're offering is what's going to cost you to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of lost productivity, because of things that you should be able to do. But you want to do this right. So that's why I rely very heavily on good references.
And the lying thing, I know this sounds crazy. I interviewed 5,000 technology professionals before I interviewed the 1,000 AWS certified professionals to see if any were hireable from certification 1, and none of them were. But in the 5,000, and the first 10, I didn't know the secret. In the first 10, I let people lie to me. I'd ask a question, I would just get frustrated. After the first 10, I realized that everybody was going to lie to me. Now, I eat a pretty healthy diet, no butter, no sugar, no flour. I actually bought a cookie jar and kept it full. And as soon as somebody bluffed or lied to me, and I know it was being lied, I just gave them cookies. I figured for 15 minutes, I could keep a good taste in their mouth. I could end the interview, thank them, and then send them on their way. And my favorite way to tell people they're incompetent is everybody else's way. Thank you. Come back when you have some more experience. So I would say that.
Right. So that's something that we talk about a lot, is what do hiring managers and recruiters really mean when they say you don't have enough experience? Because
it has nothing to do with experience.
None.
It has nothing to do with experience. Because
no.
If they've gone through, if they've taken time out of their day from work that they don't even have enough time to complete already to do an interview with you, then they know what your experience is. They have already seen it. So if they tell you you don't have enough experience after you've been interviewed, it's not about your experience.
I don't know how it is in the tech field, and if I'm using the wrong terminology, I apologize. But in most of the fields and folks that I deal with, they are looking for people that can learn. They're looking for people who are dedicated. They know, the ones that I deal with mostly, when they come out of college, they know just enough to be dangerous. That's pretty much it. They got in their head, the book said. And if I ever hear one of my students say that, I'll revoke their degree, because the book's a guide. That's all it is.
That's like saying the certification training said.
There it is.
I don't know about that. But anyway, they're looking for people that can learn, that can be trained, that are hungry. They're looking for people that had the perseverance to get a degree and that will do what it takes to learn the skills. They don't expect, and at least the ones I deal with, those companies don't expect you to come in and know everything.
Not at all.
They want somebody to be able to teach.
Yes.
And teach it their way.
Exactly.
This is what we need you to do. So, and I tell my students that, and I say, the worst thing you can do is go in there and be arrogant and act like you know everything, because you don't, And for goodness sakes, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, tell them.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what Mike said a while ago. I don't know. Yeah. They will respect that. They will.
And the way I like to do the I don't know, and then I want to get into the PSD concept with you, because I know you'll appreciate it. I like to tell people, instead of just saying, I don't know, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet or work with that yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly enthusiastic, and I'm highly passionate about this. And if I was part of your team, I would do anything that's necessary to learn it and become an expert on it. But I just want to form a good, honest, and open relationship with you right now.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just the same way. But yeah, I'd rather, I don't know, I'll still hire that person. But, there was a book on MBAs versus PhDs and many years ago, and I'm going to translate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to
But
say,
then-
use acronyms. Don't use acronyms.
I don't
No
use acronyms,
acronyms.
but I wanted to allude to its a little crypticness. So there was a paper, Bear Stearns used to do it. I believe it was actually a paper at IBM as well. And they said, instead of hiring people with masters in business administration, we want people which are poor, smart, and desire to be rich, because that person will outwork, outlearn, and fight till the end. Now, what I love, and because I'm a PSD, I'm also an MBA, I like when you take these poor, smart people with the desire to be rich, and then you give them the right education and training. You combine those two, it's like taking a fire and putting gasoline and oxygen on it at the same time. It just blows up.
Exactly. Yes.
And I really think that, and I think this is something we all talk about, is the mental fortitude to keep going.
Mhm.
You're here. I don't know how tired you are. I don't know what your day was like, but you probably had a big day and you're still here. And if you were here for 6 hours, you'd stick it out because that's your life. We're not going 6 hours. But the point is, I know that's in you.
Yeah.
Because that's what you've done. I know that's in Elonzo. I know that's in Chris. And well, nobody wants to even think about what my schedule's like. Believe me, I've got what they call intellectual overload to the point where Chris has to tell me where I'm supposed to be because I can't even remember.
If you ask me to be here for 6 hours, you got to provide Jared's Hall. And some people don't know what that is. The old people know what that is. Young people, they don't know what that is. I'll tell them to watch Lawrence Welk. They'll learn.
So, getting into the competency thing, this is something for our audience. I actually made something today and some about, I don't start people at the bottom and make them work themselves up. I train them for the job they want by focus skills and becoming an expert at their job. And today I made a social media post and someone said, well, I got to learn. It took me about 10 years to get to here. And I spent 3 years here and 3 years here, and now I'm this. And my response was, it's great that you learned, but imagine if instead of learning other people's jobs for the last 10 years, you started out with this job, you'd have 10 years to get better at your job instead of being in an entry-level position. Now, after 10 years, you'd be in a distinguished position, earning 3 times the money, having 3 times the influence in the world. What's your view on focus on one thing versus scattering your energy?
Yeah, piggyback off on that, I might go a little bit of different direction and everything. I encourage anybody, whether it's a student or whether somebody's got experience, when you go to interview for an organization, one of the most important things that I feel is important is, does that company or that organization provide the opportunity for continuous improvement, education, and learning? Absolutely. If they do not, my suggestion is you might want to consider walking out and finding somewhere that does. Unfortunately, you made a good point. They start people out at entry-level positions. They keep them there. And I have another saying that I use that, you'll get in there with business people, and all of a sudden people with business degrees get a bad case of the stupids. Mm-hmm. They want to hire people cheaply, and they don't realize they get what they pay for.
Yep.
If you want good people, you pay them a good salary. They will produce. They will earn that money back for you very quickly. And they're coming in with the ability to be competent in what you want them to be in, but you've got to train them, teach them, guide them, mentor them, and provide continuous training opportunities and learning opportunities.
I so agree. Now, if they don't have to start at the bottom, because we can polish them up, even better, which is what we're really good at. But here's the key. If a company won't let you grow, it's not a great place to build a career.
No.
Go.
No. Move on. Yeah.
There's plenty of companies.
It's like I just use my dad's environment. It's like somebody thinking that they need to be a part of the facilities management at the university to become a college professor. Like they're not related. You don't have to spend. So being and I don't expect Dad to follow this, but being a system admin or a cloud admin is not going to get you to being a cloud architect
At all, no.
or a cloud engineer. Just like being a facilities management or a groundskeeper or even a custodial or even an administrator at a university, even an administrator in the administration side. Right. It's not going to get them to being a college professor.
It's not. And if you wanted to hire a building architect to design your new hotel, someone that needs to understand structure and wind and weight, teaching them how to use a hammer and be a construction worker is not going to help them either.
No.
And that's why engineering is not really a big help to architects. It does teach them some of the underlying tech, which is great, but it also teaches a different way of thinking, which is problematic. It's almost better to learn the right way of thinking and the skills directly first than trying to unlearn in a new way. It's like for any of you guys that speak multiple languages. When you first learn that second language, you think in your primary language and then you translate it. You're not competent. It's like you're walking down the street and you're offending somebody, but you're trying real hard. When I first learned Greek, I called my brother-in-law a cucumber because the word son is a gaudy and the word cucumber is a goody. And I mixed it up, but I was trying because I was translating in my head. Years later, I think in Greek. And now I don't try to translate it and it's now competent and it's just very different.
Yeah, I just to reiterate, I think about traveling and I posted this, and I'm all about analogies. I love the simplicity of it. What do you want to do? You want to take a layover? You may get a cheaper flight, but if you have to do layovers all over the city just to get to 2 points, which makes the straightest and shortest pathway, is it going to get you that quality experience, or is it just going to take you all over the place, visiting cities you don't intend to go to? Same thing with your career. It's like, okay, like reiterating what all the gentlemen have said here. It doesn't make sense to spend all your time baking a cake that you don't intend to eat. So focus on what you want to do. If that's your life, then focus on your life and don't spend any more time wasting it. And then you also think about the opportunity cost that you're going to lose out for yourself in time and money, focusing on something that has nothing to do with what you want to do in the future.
Exactly. Yes.
So there, just to let everybody know, we do have some questions that are coming in that we'll get to in a little bit. I've been not answering the questions, but acknowledging the questions in the chat box. But I know that we had a very specific purpose for this topic today about increasing your employability and your hireability. And so far we've had a good general discussion about a few different things. Mike, I didn't know if we may want to speak about I don't know, like a top 5 or a top 4. I don't know. So, like a top list of things that people, regardless of career, should probably.
Regardless of the career, there's a couple of things that are big. Number 1 is communication skills. The better your communication skills, the better your career is. Number 2 is actually your emotional intelligence. The ability to manage your emotions and control others' emotions around you. Without that, there's just no success. Number 3 is you got to be competent at your job. I mean, that's just so critical. Now, I would also tell you that I would put sales skills in the top 5. And here's the reason. You're always selling no matter what your job is. If you're an architect, it's your job to sell. If you're an engineer, you still need to show your manager about why you're awesome. You need to sell other people to work on your team. Sales skills, just without them, your career is just going to be dead. Yeah. And, I really, truly believe, trust, integrity, and authenticity is there. And if I had to add one more, Chris, because I can't add it to 5, is responsiveness.
Oh yeah. No, I was just giving us.
Okay, I may add 1 or 2 more.
Good stuff, though.
Here's the thing, when somebody calls you and you respond to them almost immediately, or emails you, boy, does it give a sense of confidence. So I really feel that that's a really critical one. And, beyond that,
Now, just so everybody knows, I'm putting these in our little private chat so that I remember them.
okay, that's really great, because, I won't remember them.
I already forgot a few of them, so I'm going to ask the chat box to remind me.
So the people, that'll help us. But really, the degree of that somebody knows that you've got the oomph in you, that you're willing to work, and attitude. I should have listed that number one.
Yeah, you did. You did. That was 2 or 3. I remember.
Okay. Just the attitude, that energetic, enthusiastic, the passionate attitude, the I can do it attitude, the I will do whatever it takes attitude, the I'm not too good enough to do anything attitude, and I will willingly do whatever it takes. I will jump into fire with my troops. I will be part of it. People don't follow a leader if they think, you're sitting in some tower somewhere. They need to know that you're in there. And, when you do something successfully, share credit with your team. And if something doesn't go well, don't blame somebody else, because that will destroy your trust. Those will be mine. How about yours, Chris, and yours, Elonzo, and then yours, Dr. Cooper?
I'll say let's go with the guest first.
Okay.
I want to go with Dr.
People hear from me and Alonzo every day and every week.
Yeah, I want to hear from the sage doctor here.
Okay, now I want to tell you what. Out of all, Mike came up with some very good on his list and so forth. But I have always firmly believed that the ability to effectively communicate is the most important skill any individual can have. If you do not have that, you will be at a disadvantage for the entire career. Part of the communication that I stress is there is a difference between seeing and observing and listening and hearing. And Chris can remember this. I start every class off. I tell people I'm going to give them a math test, and they do not have to have. You don't have to have a math, a pencil. You just do it in your head. And I tell them.
No, I want to hear.
No. I'm getting the chat box's attention, because we're actually going to ask them to put the answer in the chat box.
I can't see it. Okay,
you can't see it, but I'll put it up there. So,
but anyway, to prove my point, I always ask my kids. I'll say, look, I'm going to give you a question. If you get it correct, you get an A in the class, walk out, don't ever come back. If you miss it, you get an F in the class. See you next semester. And so I tell them, listen carefully. Take 30 divided by a half and add 10. Now that's real easy, is it not? Mm-hmm. Can you not do that in your head very quickly? And I'll tell them, write it down on a piece of paper. No cheating. And they'll sit there and they'll do it. So, Chris, what are the answers? I can't see any answers. So what are the answers?
So we have about a 15 to 20 second delay. So we're going to ask them. So 30 divided by a half plus 10.
Plus 10.
I know I got my number, and it's not those numbers that are in that chat box. It's a much higher number.
Here's I'm going to preface this by saying this is a very technical crowd. So I'm actually not surprised by this.
This is 5-year-old math. They should get it right.
Right. So we got 25.
What I got you is 30 divided by 0.5, which we equal to 60.
Plus 10.
Plus 10.
Okay, so I see a bunch of 25s coming up over here. You know what they did? They divided by 2. They did not listen.
Right.
Yep.
And I tell them, if you can't do a simple math problem because you refuse to listen or don't have the ability to listen, who's going to hand you a $10 million budget?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's interesting.
Who is going to hand you that? My problem is, I like to say sometimes, I'll talk to my kids, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but a lot of times I'll look at them and I'll say, my goodness, you can't find your butt with both hands, a road map and a flashlight, a dog and a cane. And sometimes I'll look in your eyes and say, clean to the back of your head. You do not want your boss,
Chris.
You do not want your boss thinking that about you. And get away from this jargon. My grandfather told me one time he speaks 5 languages every day. They're all English. It depends on who he's talking to. Don't try to impress me with words. Try to impress me with results. And if I can't understand you, and if they can't understand you, you fail. Now I get off my soapbox now.
Okay, we
No,
got
stay
to
on
go.
it, Max.
My favorite book.
Stay on it.
I'm gonna
Okay,
break
he
this
brought in my
down.
2 favorite things. Then we don't allow acronyms in our school. And my favorite book is Why Business People Speak Like Idiots. This
I've read that. I got that book.
And my executive coach changed my life. I had just finished my MBA program, and I was running a business council of CXO leaders. And somehow I just finished my MBA program, and my professors had convinced me that I needed to speak in business logic, babble, 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 babble. So I talked all about things and numbers on the board, and the room looked like this.
Yeah.
And that was the ones that weren't on their Blackberries. And I remember I said to my friend Francis, who was also my executive coach and mentor, I said, Francis, what did I do here wrong? And she takes a deep breath and she says, well, can I send you a book? And we can talk after you read the book. And she sends me that book. And all of a sudden I started writing sentences of 11 words or less to make my writing easy, got rid of all jargon, spoke in simple, plain language. And my career was like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
And, I teach my students, no, but, you hit communication and, I agree with you for all the reasons you said. And you just proved to them, people that are not listening, how much trouble they have. But we work in tech. And I train architects who design, present, and sell, and they get the value of communication. Now, my engineers fight with me here. And I love my engineers because they bring to life my design, but they fight with me. And I say, look, if you ever want to get hired, you'll have to be able to convince people you know something. And how they're going to know it unless you can communicate it. So you won't be hireable, and if you are, you'll be paid half. But it's not just that. Garbage in, garbage out. As you just showed, the people that didn't have the communication or the listening skills, almost everybody got the math wrong. Almost everyone would have had the wrong solution. So the engineering would have been broken because it's garbage in and garbage out. And then you need somebody's help. And if you can't communicate your needs to someone else, you can't get the help. Communication is probably the most critical thing. Chris, let's bring your perspective.
So there's a very important point that I want to bring up. And this doesn't fall exactly in line with your question, but it falls in the same vein. So Jeremy says that he didn't answer because he wanted to know half of what. And so he would have asked questions for clarification.
That would be fine.
And exactly, because that's communication. If you aren't 100% certain what is being asked or being told, ask for clarification. So he didn't answer because he's like, half of what? I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to give the wrong. Is it half of 100, half of half of one, half?
Excellent.
Yeah. So
great point. Great point. There's nothing wrong with asking for more information or for clarification.
Yeah, and you didn't say they couldn't.
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not.
And I believe in training the way you fight, train the way you work. A lot of times I get new students and they say, Mike, I've got an architecture problem where I present it as the CEO of the company and I describe the problem, the business problem, the goals. And some people say, can't you hand me a piece of paper that's got the requirements? And I say, no. I said, because nobody's ever in real life going to give you a piece of paper. And if I give you a piece of paper, I've turned you into an engineer and you won't be able to be an architect. And when you go on an architect interview, you won't be able to ask the question. So no, I need you to learn to listen. If I don't teach you to listen like an architect, which is like a doctor, which is like a lawyer, you're going to miss key things. And I say, we must train the way we fight.
And the thing is, in your field, just like in others, but especially in your field, is, you've got to be able to communicate with people that don't have any understanding of what you do.
Exactly.
When a customer comes in or something, you want to hire people and if you're the person looking for a job, you want to show that not only can I do the tech stuff, but I can communicate. I can talk to anybody. I can get the message across. That's just pure customer service right there. And without it, again, failure. You just cost me a lot of money. I'm a business person. I look at that bottom line. I'm sorry.
I remember in a sales meeting, I tried to bring one of the best engineers I knew because I was worried about getting swallowed up from a tech professional. This is early in my career, about 20 some years ago, as an architect. And I was told, no, you can't bring him. And I said, what do you mean? And I brought him.
Yeah.
Well, that meeting was over. That opportunity was lost. They were not happy with me because when we were trying to talk about CXO relevant information, he was busy trying to talk about a port on a switch. And it totally derailed the conversation. So yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, I want you to share how your dialogues go with the IT department at UT, Dad.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you that.
Problem with your computer? How's that go?
Yeah.
Oh, how that goes. When I get a problem with a computer, I pick the phone up. I call the IT person. It's one of my former students that's over there. I usually get him on the phone, and I tell him, "This is Dr. Johnson. Denver, I got a problem. It's doing this," and he will, tell me how to get it up there where he can remote access. I think that's the neatest thing in the world. Is I don't have to get up out of my chair and go take it to him. But he'll remote access and he'll fix it. He'll know all that stuff, and he'll ask a couple of questions. Because easy questions. Because he's talking to Dr. Johnson. Don't get too high on this tech stuff. And so he'll get it done, and then he'll say, he did this one time. He says, "Got it fixed, Doc. Check it out." So I checked it out. It worked. I said, "Denver, you're a genius. Send me a survey. I'll talk good about you. You can send me cash later." But anyway, he said, and then he asked this question: "Do you want to know what I did? And I'll clean it up." I said, "Heck no. I don't want to know what you did. I won't understand it. Denver, you remember in our class, the management class that you did take, although you didn't want to take it, take care of the customer's problems. If he or she has questions, he will ask. I don't care about technology. I won't understand it. If you can tell me something that I did so I won't do it again, fine." "Oh, no, Dr. Johnson, let me tell you about," I said, "Denver, I'm hanging the phone up. If you keep talking, I'm going to revoke your degree." But I don't need all that extra information. I need somebody to solve the problem. I don't have the time to learn it. I don't have the skill to learn it. And I don't have the desire to learn it. That's what y'all are for. You keep me running, I'm happy.
Wait.
But Denver has to be able, and he's really good about this, he's got to be able to talk what I call, dumb it down, Denver, and talk to me. Don't talk like you're talking to one of your little people in the back room over there in the tech room. Talk to Dr. Johnson. And he's really good at that. So that's an example of, he speaks 2 or 3 languages every day, and they're all English, but he knows how to talk to different people. And he's already gotten 2 promotions over there. And it's because people sing his praises. And that's all. And he's just a 22-year-old kid, but he's got it figured out. He's got it figured out.
You hit 2 really
I'm making a
important
shirt
things.
for Dumb It Down, Denver. I love that.
Yeah.
Dumb It Down.
I love that. And part of my successful career as an architect was the following. I spoke 3 languages: CEO language, management language, and then I translated that to the techies. And I went back and forth. I was the translator. I think that plus some presentation skills was really most of what I did, and a lot of entertaining clients, lots and lots of it.
The higher you go, like CEO, the dumber down you got to get it too most of the time, because you really got to use small words and talk slow to those people.
Executive
because
summary.
when you have, let's be fair, I'm there right now, but then you keep.
I know, I'm just picking on you.
I'm at the point now where I've designed architectures for bank and healthcare organizations, internet or service providers that nobody had ever done before. That was my whole life. Right. And I got to the point where it's like, okay, this is what I know how to do. Right. My VCR at the time would blink 12 o'clock. The time of my light, my oven is wrong. I don't even know how to change the numbers on my watch. And I have to have Chris figure out how to use software for me, because I've gotten to the point where I'm so specialized in what I need to do. I've got so much going on that I'm like, Chris, please help me figure it out. And Chris will tell you that. He helps me figure everything out. But let
me just add one thing to it. I sound like I'm joking when I don't know anything about technology, but I'm really not. My wife used to teach technology and so forth. And when I sit down and I'm doing something, and now this is really going to be dumb, Excel. I'm up here trying to find something out, and she says, "What are you trying to do?" Now, keep in mind, my wife has lost her vision, so she remembers all this stuff. And I said, "I'm trying to do this, and I got 60 people. I don't need all." She said, "Filter it." "Oh, what the hell is that?" "Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to say that." I said, "What is that?" Now, you talking about somebody who can communicate? She's been blind for at that time, 4 or 5 years, and she could tell me where to go and what to do on that screen. And she could tell me how to do it. To me, people that can do that type of stuff are valuable. I don't care about your upper level managers. I want the grunts that can do the work and can get results. And that's what I encourage people to do when you go to those job interviews that y'all are talking about, being hired. Show them that you can do it.
Yeah.
You're selling yourself. I think Mike brought this up about sales all the time. The most important thing you'll ever sell in your entire life is yourself.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
The most important thing. If you fail at that, you're just going to be down at the bottom, looking up at everybody going, why not me?
And
It's funny. The first assignment in our training program is tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Because if we can't get this right,
Yeah.
we got to start the interview off right. So, but anyway, I wanted to point that out because that's why we put it there.
Yeah. But I want to point out something your father said that's so critical for people to understand. He is excellent at what he does. We're excited to have him talking here. He knows how to train future leaders. Pragmatically, he knows how to run a business. When it came to his tech, he said, I don't know and I don't want to know. Mm-hmm. I want to make that really clear. He is an expert. We are graced and lucky to have him with us. He's a wealth of lifetime worth of experience. He's an expert. Now, what he is not, he is not a computer professional and an airplane pilot and a pro golfer and a pro fisherman and a pro tennis player, a pro marathon runner, and a Navy SEAL. He is an expert, and that's why we're so lucky to have him here. That's why, and I'll go back to what we do. When we tell people to be an architect, learn to be an architect. When we tell you to be an engineer, be an engineer. What our competition tells people, which is why they never get hired, is they're so busy trying to sell courses. A database person is its own professional. A developer is its own professional. A DevOps engineer is its own professional. A sysadmin or a sysops person is its own professional. A cloud engineer is its own professional, and a cloud architect is its own professional. If you try to get certified in 10 people's careers, you won't know your career. You can't be like Dr. Johnson. He's an expert in his field. What you get is a hobbyist. So, Dr. Johnson, if you wanted to be a physician, attorney, an airplane pilot, a college professor, an accountant, a literature expert, and while you're at it, a marketing professional, could you master that in any 3 lifetimes?
No.
I know where this is going to go.
No, you cannot. You can't do that. And another thing you need to understand, or not y'all, but the people that are looking for jobs and stuff need to understand exactly what you said. You need to go in and sell what you can do and what you can learn and what you can become. And one of the things that I also tell my kids is when you get a job at some point, you're going to be in charge of people. I don't care if you got a title or not, you're going to be in charge. They're going to look to you. They're going to look for direction. They're going to look for expertise. They're going to look for help and so forth. And then you might be in charge of hiring people. You don't need to know their job. You are a leader. Your job is to compile a team. And you're to guide them, provide them with resources, provide them with guidance and so forth. Fight for what you need, fight for your people. But you don't have the time to learn what an accountant does. God bless them. I don't want to get started on that. You don't have time to learn what finance people do or what computer people do. I don't have any idea. All I know is to blast the thing. When I hit the on button, I want it to work, But I was chair of a department that was the MIS department. That down here they call it Management Information Systems. It's not computer science, but it's the business people using software and stuff. I didn't understand what they did. That professor could come in and talk all day long about all that stuff they do, and I didn't understand it. But I was still responsible for providing support, providing guidance, providing training, and that type of stuff, giving him or her what they need to be successful. That's the way and when I asked kids, I said, when you go looking for jobs, look, do some research and see if that's the type of company that's going to give you that type of support. If not, I think you should look somewhere else.
So
certifications, I'm not that impressed with certifications. I'm not sure that's what y'all do. I don't understand. Chris has tried to explain it. The cloud to me is outside in the sky. I don't know.
No, actually, what we do, I think you'll find it hilarious. certifications are a piece of paper that anybody can get and know absolutely nothing. We teach people exactly the job.
You can take a test.
We go to class and we do the job in class. In between classes, we have people do projects that are part of the job. Then we give them something that looks like a virtual internship, and they're doing the work that they would do in the job. And then they're ready to be hired, and they get hired. Yeah, we get them certification, but that's just like icing on a cake. It's nothing in and of itself. It's kind of like a degree in basket weaving.
Underwater BB stacking.
Exactly.
Underwater BB stacking.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, but right now I think I'm at a little disadvantage because the advice that I'm giving or the students looking for that first job, and I get a feeling that what you're trying to do is give advice for people that have already had jobs but are looking for better.
Yes,
it's interesting. You go, Chris, and then I'll actually describe.
So before we get too far away from it, that's actually a question from someone in the YouTube chat. So there's an opportunity for us to do a whole talk about that. But you said something that I want to come back to, Dad, that I thought was very interesting. Sorry, somebody just had an epiphany about the 30 divided by half.
Oh,
we're gone. You've already got your F. Go on. Go away.
You said that you were responsible and led a team, and there was people on this team that you had no idea what their job was, and you couldn't do their job.
I cannot do their job. No. I should not do their job.
Okay. So you didn't have to know how to teach information systems or accounting to be able to lead them and help them reach their assigned goals and complete their task, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to clarify. So the person in charge, the leader, doesn't have to know how to do every single person's job that works with them.
And he shouldn't. He or she should not know that. He or she has a certain set of responsibilities once you get up into that area. Now, I know that's getting away from getting a job, but, once you become a leader, your thing is motivation, communication, goal setting, those types of things, evaluation, see where we stand. We can look at the bottom line and look at a lot of things, but you shouldn't be the one sitting up here trying to tell a cloud architect, I believe that's one of the words y'all have used. I shouldn't be trying to tell them what to do. I don't have any idea.
Yeah. And that's the biggest leadership thing we hear. People say, but if I don't know how to do everybody else's job, how am I going to manage them? And I say, if you try to micromanage them, you're fired in about a month. Because
are they leaving you?
Or they're leaving you. One of the two things is going to happen. But,
exactly.
You mentioned something. What do we predominantly deal with career changers, but we also deal with people getting their first job. We have Daniel, who recently got his first job, and Delroy, who got his first job through us. And we've had a lot of people. And, our students' first job pays them more than most people are earning after 10 and 15 years of experience. So they're getting executive level positions, manager, senior manager, director as their first position.
Right. I understand.
Architect is typically considered to be a senior manager to VP based upon the level, and that's our graduate's first position. So why are we doing it? Because we're kind of providing an executive leadership program along with the traditional. So we're not normal. No, what you would do is if somebody came out of a traditional education program, I 100% agree with you. But we're laser focused. All we do is exactly what we've done is we probably took down 50,000 pages of reading and chopped it into our training program in, a 500-hour course. So
where I see this, in my area, I got the accountants, I got the finance people, I've got the information systems people, those type of folks. They know their stuff.
Yes,
they know their stuff, but where they fail is not being able to communicate and to work with other people. I jokingly say my dad was an engineer, and I always used to say, put him in a back room. Don't let him get out here in the public because he's going to cost us money. Don't let him talk. He can do the engineering.
That's a mechanical engineer, like an old school
engineer. As a mechanical engineer. But an accountant, accountant sits there and tells me, now, Mike, you think about this. I have accountants that tell me inventory is an asset. And I look at them and tell them they lost their mind.
Yeah.
I said, because if I buy 10 computers, now that's all I know about computers. If I buy 10 computers for $10,000 and I put them on my shelf, that's a liability until I sell them.
Yes.
And then they look at me and tell me, this is their sin. Now, think about this. This is what I get from accounting people. Well, if you don't sell them, you can write it off as a loss. And I said, well, how many times can I do that before I go broke? You have lost your mind.
Yeah.
That's accounting theory. And I said, let me tell you about your theory. And then Chris will tell you what I usually say, but y'all might want to do that off screen.
Yeah. Somebody tried, I remember my MBA program. Debt is good. You could leverage this. And I went, you know what?
Oh, Lord.
Let me buy this inexpensive car in cash. I don't need payments. I don't need anything fancy. I've had all these accounting things. Yeah, you could do this.
But see, that's the type of things when you're talking about helping people get jobs, when they make statements like that to me, that just throws up red flags all over the place. That they,
that is the equivalent of us having people in our realm giving answers that are specific to a certification or a vendor. It's a red flag that it's like you don't know what you're talking about. You literally just read the book and that's your answer.
Yeah, you have no idea what the real world's about. No,
exactly.
You are so lost.
Yeah. And 99% of what we get when we interview people is someone that didn't know the material taught a certification course. And then the people that really got it then really didn't understand it. They did the best they had. There's no understanding of it.
Yeah, I know. It's. Yeah. Sometimes I just don't have anything to say to them. I just look at them going, oh, dear Lord, hope somebody comes and takes care of you. Maybe mom and daddy have a good trust fund for you. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me, and then let's get to the questions from the chat box. FedEx had a really good commercial.
Okay.
And it was the guy said, I have an MBA. And the secretary said, that's okay. You'll still be able to learn how to use it.
That's exactly right. You'll be okay. Nice. You'll be okay. Yeah. Can you spell that? Yeah.
Right. Here's a cookie.
Here's a cookie. Here's the whole pack.
So before we get to some of the questions that people have asked in the chat, is there any last things that we want to make sure we talk about before we start going down some of these rabbit holes that people might have?
Have we talked about emotional intelligence yet?
Ooh.
let's talk about that for a few minutes. Emotional intelligence, statistically speaking, is the best predictor of your career success. Average data that I find shows that for an average paying job, higher levels of emotional intelligence translate to $29.6 thousand per year of additional income. Over 30 years, that's $1 million. Now that's for an average paying job. In technology, that factor can be 2 to 3 times that. That's how critical this is. But here's the thing, people like people that are likable. And if, your manager's having a cranky day and you're too jumpy, too smiley, that's no good either. So it's knowing how to adapt for the room. It's knowing how to take that person that you work with on your team that's having a bad day and figuring out how to help that person so they can participate in the team project. It's finding a way to get the team together without having arguments, smoothing out ruffled feathers in communication and things. When you form a team, at first it's forming, and then it's storming, and then it's norming, and then you get to performing, but it takes a while. So it takes that emotional intelligence to really get there. The emotional intelligence to know how and when to ask your manager for a raise, to know when to ask the hiring manager for the job, be able to read the hiring manager on that interview to basically know how to answer your question in the most emotionally intelligent manner, to deal with someone that's embarrassed about something from their past, to deal with a customer that's made a mistake, but you need access to that information, to deal with a patient that comes in that took a drug they weren't supposed to, or an employee that took a drug they weren't supposed to. When you're really trying to save their lives or get them help and not judge them. So to me, emotional intelligence is critical. Now, I feel blessed. I had a little special training here, just a little bit, because I come from healthcare. And first, I paid my way through school by working as an EMT paramedic. And trust me, in an emergency environment, if you're not emotionally intelligent, bad things happen. Mm-hmm. Then I went to nursing school where I learned therapeutic communication, which was emotional intelligence. Then I became a nurse practitioner where I had a master's degree, had it in my own internal medicine office. And if you don't have emotional intelligence there, It's incredibly challenging, especially when you have to do some of the more challenging exams on basically a female pregnant patient. For example, some of these exams, if you're not emotionally intelligent, you can make people feel very uncomfortable. So then there's that. And then I had a little bit extra because I was an elite martial artist. I had control of my mind, and controlling your emotions is part of managing somebody else's emotions. And then I actually got to do my clinical rotations at the University of Pennsylvania, where they actually came up with cognitive behavior therapy, and I got to learn that and do my clinical rotations there. So learning how to control more emotions. So for me, I've spent my lifetime mastering emotional intelligence and developed their own training methods. But for me, let's go to Dr. Cooper and then Elonzo and then Chris about emotional intelligence.
Well, I think emotional intelligence is very important. I see so many times in the industries that I deal with is you get people that are so-called leaders, so-called managers, boss, whatever you want to call them, and, I try to tell, I've run across people that say, when you come to this office, you leave everything outside the door. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first thing I brand that person is an idiot. Okay. If your child is sick, you're not going to leave it outside the door. If you're having marital problems, you're not going to leave it outside the door.
Right.
You as the manager or the leader should have enough compassion, empathy, sympathy, all those key words that you talk about all the time to sit down and help the people. If you can develop that trust, I think Mike referred to, you develop the trust, they'll go to the ends of the earth for you. Okay. They show that you care. Okay. Life happens. And bosses that don't understand that have no place being where they are. They will not be successful. Their good people will leave. It's not the bad people that's going to leave. Bad people will stay because they can't go anywhere else. Your good people are going to leave. Mm-hmm. Something else you need to be wary of. You as a leader, you will recognize you got good people. Let's say that Chris is an outstanding employee and you got one or two over here that are mediocre at best. At best. You've seen it before, folks. They keep piling stuff on the good person, because they'll get it done. And they wake up one day and the good person's gone.
Yep.
Because you know what you do? You give them the same raises, you give them the same evaluations, you give them no recognition and everything else. And they're looking over here at the worthless people who are doing nothing. And what do you do for them? You don't do anything to them. You don't try to educate them, train them, improve them, and everything. So yes, I agree. Emotional intelligence is critical. Those kind of bosses or managers or whatever it is that don't care about anything but themselves and their department. Time to look somewhere else. Time to do something else, as far as I'm concerned.
It's kind of like being told you're too good at your job. They can't give you a promotion, right, Mike?
Oh my God! I worked at a company.
Oh, I'd shoot them.
Director of systems engineering position I wanted, that I was a principal consulting architect, and I told my manager, and I had a couple of the VPs say, yeah, Mike's ready, and he says, Mike, you're too good in your job. You bring in 20% of the revenue or turnover, I think he called it, and he said, from this one thing you're on, if you do this, you're too valuable. And I said, okay, I quit.
There you go. There you go.
Said, you just told me I'm too good to move up. Apparently, I've made a mistake. Goodbye.
Let me take that one step further. So Mike says, I quit. And here's what really aggravates me is when they look at you and say, well, what will it take to keep you? Hold on. Wait just a minute. Why didn't you give me that to begin with? I would, come on. But, and I tell my kids, you can't keep me. That tells me a whole lot then. No, I don't want it. No, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm worth more to other people.
Yep.
And I know that comes across as being, I don't know, selfish maybe at sometimes.
No.
But when they look at you and say, what can we do to keep you? Well, obviously you again, I'll look in your eyes and see clean to the back of your head. I'm sorry, you can't do anything.
Yeah, they already took the lighter fluid in the match, and
right.
There you go.
Before we keep going, I want to make sure everyone there. I want to hashtag Dr. Johnson, because I'll say right now we got to have him back. We're barely halfway into the show. We got to get a hashtag Dr. Johnson for this gentleman right here. He is dropping bombs.
Yes, he is. And heck, I'm going to beg him to periodically come in and share some wisdom with my students.
Hey, Chris, Chris, you're gonna have to put something in English about what a hashtag is. I never use it. I don't even know what that
I
is.
even love that even
That
more.
looks like a number symbol to me back in the old days, or tic tac toe. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The waffle
You
line.
know,
piece,
it's the hash sign. It's
Yeah.
what you
There you
press
go.
when you're dialing internationally, and you press that to finish the call, so you don't have to wait till it times out. The hash sign.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So,
Actually,
Okay.
sorry, the pound sign. It was a hash sign in England. The
Yeah.
pound sign in the U.S.
So
Yeah.
let's let's get to some questions. There's one specifically that I want to get to, and then I'll go back to some others. But because you brought it up, so we do have two. We have two distinct pillars of who we reach out to in our community, and it's the people that are what are called freshers, new, young people that are just starting out. And then we've got people that are transitioning from a previous career, possibly.
And people that have worked in tech for 20 years, but need to transition into architecture.
Yeah. So Mark asked here, speaking of Geritol, this came in quite a while ago, back when you referenced Geritol. He said, can Dr. Johnson address the over 50 person transitioning into a cloud career? Now, obviously, you don't have any knowledge about cloud, but
No, I don't.
I'm sure you have some knowledge or experience about people transitioning careers later in life, which is the same concern. I've done XYZ for 20 or 30 years. I want to move into a different field. Do you have anything to speak on towards that?
What I would normally tell people is this. Okay, so you want to transition into something else that is new, okay? And then you say, but I don't have any experience, or I have very little experience in that area. Okay, what hiring managers a lot of time are looking for is not so much that you have that experience in cloud. Again, sorry if I mess up with the wording.
That's okay.
But they're looking for, do you have communication skills, organizational skills, planning skills, working with other people skills? Can you show them that they can do it? And do you have the ability to learn? And do you have the willingness to learn? That's what you should focus on. When you're trying to get the proverbial foot in the door, get in there and then sell what you've done, show them how that's going to, apply to what they are wanting you to do. Some of y'all could probably teach me this cloud stuff, but based on the fact that I've been able to accomplish certain things in my life and been able to learn, and, there were things that I took that I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I'm accounting, finance, computers, all that kind of good stuff, but I could do it, but, that's what I would focus on, what I've done and how I can use it to apply to what you're looking for. What type of person are you looking for?
So what I'm hearing is take what experience you do have, and how can what I gathered from that experience help this new technology, this new enterprise, this new organization?
Yep. Back to the statement of what can I do for you? Here's what I can do for you. Here's what I've done in the past. Okay. And like Mike said on those, I see those resumes all the time. I don't care if you're 50 years old. I don't care if you're 20 years old. The resume is so critical. Now, you folks understand this better than I do. You got these things where they say submit it online, and they got these programs that go through looking for key things in it. I think it's the worst thing in the world, in my opinion. What I think the most important thing is? Networking.
Yep.
Pick that phone up and call somebody and say, I'm looking for a job.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Folks, how many people would you say, how many of you would say, no, I'm not going to help you? Most of us will help.
Yep.
And if you can get somebody to pick a phone up and call and say, hey, I got this person looking for a job. I think they'll be a good fit for your organization. You just bypass all what I call the garbage.
Yep.
Bypass. We love that word bypass, don't we?
You just bypassed all that.
Yeah.
And I have to say this. Mike and my father have never spoken to each other.
I was going to go there.
Yeah, I have to say it because Mike and my father have not spoken to each other until 5:45 today, 15 minutes before this show. So, and the reason I say this, Dad, is because you are saying everything that
yes.
Not
Yep,
just we
exactly.
say, but the people
Right.
that we also bring in. I just had to say it.
Yeah,
You're saying what we say.
everyone knows what a Venn diagram is, there's so much overlap here on what we are providing, what Mike keeps teaching on a daily basis, and how the execution is. And you think about what Dr. Johnson is saying, it's almost verbatim. So
Yeah.
you're getting, not only you getting a unique perspective from someone else who has never been on the show, but you also have an underlining relationship to how success continues on from someone in a whole different field, but it's the same execution. And being able to understand that and repetitively get that here is something everyone needs to absorb every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, somebody put in the chat box MBA things, I guess. It's like, no, it's just experience and listening to the people that have had that experience and had that knowledge and that wisdom.
Yeah.
When they're willing to share it with us.
And we
Well, I'm going to tell you what.
personally,
I'm going to tell you what. Somebody comes in. If I got 5 resumes in front of me, I'm looking at experience. Education's the last thing I'm looking at. Okay, you got a degree 25 years ago. Whoop-doo. Okay, times have changed, things have changed. Have you? No, I'm not trying to be funny, but the thing is, have you kept up? Have you continued to learn? Have you attended training things? I don't want to see little words down there like the following are my great skills. Problem solving, goal setting. I don't want to listen to that. I want to be able to read on that cover letter and on that resume what you've done. Matter of fact, you can put the education down at the bottom if you want to. That's fine. That's fine. I don't care if you do that and everything. And I tell my students this: when people come to our university and they say, we want to interview some people, but they must have a 3.5 grade point average. I'm going, you're an idiot. Here's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
What about this person? What about this person that works 25, 30, 40 hours a week, takes 15 hours of classes, might have a 3 point or a 2.8, but they work their butt off. Let me tell you what they've learned. They've learned far more out of that classroom. They've learned important skills, and they persevered, and they're determined. Who do you think I'm going to look at real close? Or am I going to look at the person who mom and daddy paid for everything and gave them a credit card, and they didn't have to do anything, and they barely get a 3 point? Now, what's that big word, the D word that everybody don't want to say? That's called discrimination, I guess, if you want to call it. I call it filtering out. I'm looking for certain skills, certain experiences. Yeah. So when a kid comes to me and I've had professors, colleagues that will get mad. I used to teach at a university that was in the Mississippi Delta, farming. I had kids coming in with mud all over their shoes, their boots, shirts hanging out of their pants and everything. But you know what? They worked, they got off the tractor, they came to class, and they bettered themselves. Means more important than the little fraternity or sorority guy, sorry, Chris, that came in all preppy. Doggone. That's the stuff I look for. That's the stuff I tell my kids and everybody. Stress that stuff. Stress it. They're looking for it.
You want to know what assignment comes after the tell me about yourself?
Yeah.
What?
You want to know what assignment we have that comes after the tell me about yourself assignment?
I have no idea.
Overcoming obstacles.
Well, there you go.
Write an essay and give us a video about the obstacles that you've had to overcome.
Which is showing them what you've done and what you can do.
Exactly.
I can turn around right now and pick up my diploma. It's on the wall back here and say, look at my diploma. So
here's my AWS certificate.
Right.
So
yeah.
So
you don't see degrees behind me. I don't post them.
I mentioned earlier that I don't teach at a research school, but we have to do research. And a colleague of mine, which Chris knows very well, both of them, that we on a research team together, we have a stream of research, and it asks this question: do we practice what we teach? And you think about that, and it may apply to you too, which I'm sure y'all do. But like when it comes to hiring, when it comes to promotions, when it comes to succession management, and we have found we teach one thing in academia, we don't practice it.
Yep.
To
be honest, Mike was concerned when I suggested to bring you in, because he's like, I don't know if I want someone.
I'd be concerned too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because I'm an educated guy too, but I said, does he know business or does he teach? And no,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm so grateful you're here. But it's really funny. I had been on, it was my first 6-figure job that I took a long time ago. And on the interview, they were trying to get a feel for me. And he said, Temple University, wow, big football team or basketball team. I don't remember exactly which words he used. He said, were you a good student? I said, honestly, no. Because I went to school, from 7 to 3, I worked 3:30 to 11, 5 days a week as an EMT. Then I worked 11 to 7, 2 additional nights per week, and every Saturday and Sunday, I worked 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and I wrote all my papers in this $4,000 notebook that I bought, which was the first one I could get in the back of an ambulance. And he said, I need you on my team. It was like so definitive.
Yeah.
But people don't know how, they don't know that they're supposed to share that. And that's where they need to be taught that. They need to get away from, I took a course in this, or I took a course in that, or I got an MBA or whatever it is. And I'm going, okay, so you got a piece of paper. Now, my colleagues don't like me saying stuff like that. Universities don't like you saying things like that. But facts are facts. It's just, look at the successful people. Develop those soft skills. You don't have the soft skills, you got a problem.
I'm gonna bring in our
I'm too direct.
So this next one's from Angelo. Angelo says, how can someone learn to love hard work if it doesn't come naturally?
I got a little expertise knowledge here. So this is one of these mental toughness things. And, the best way to learn to be more tough is to do things that hurt. But I'm going to give you the secret way to do it. So in Israel at one point, they had us hold our arms over our head for 12 hours straight in a 120-degree room. And it wasn't pleasant. Some people passed out, some people quit in a few minutes, and some of us stayed to the end. So I know this great Navy SEAL, Mark Devine, he's got some really good information. One of the things that he said is if you had to eat an elephant, you do it one bite at a time. 2 is you've got to get out of your comfort zone. Now, one of the reasons they push people in SEAL training, etc., and special forces selection by running 1 million miles a day and swimming and being cold on no food is to see who's going to quit. So what you can do is, Angela, each day you can do something, whether it be running or whether it be being on a bike or a rower, I don't care. Something safe, something that's safe for you and your doctor, or yoga, I don't care. But something where you push yourself outside of your comfort zone just a little each day. Now, as the SEALs say, the only easy day was yesterday. And for about 8 years, I had to do 8 hours of physical therapy, Angela, just to be able to walk. And I had extreme intractable pain, and I refused the real pain meds because, I don't want to lose my mind or ability to do physical therapy. So fight through it. So eat the elephant one bite at a time. Now, Angela, because you can do at least 20 times more than you think you can. And 3, find something that you love. Because if you love it, it's not work. That would be my guidance. But, we're coming at it from different perspectives. How about you, Dr. Johnson?
I would say the worst word that comes to my mind is complacency. You ever reach the point where you're complacent and you have no drive, you have no energy, you don't want to better yourself? I think that's the worst thing that can happen to you. I believe firmly, we've heard the old saying, if you think outside of the box, you've heard that one before. My position is there shouldn't be a box. Don't try to think the same way other people have thought. You always want to grow, challenge. I tell my students and everybody else, challenge me. I'm going to be devil's advocate. You tell me it's green, I'm going to say it's blue. You better be able to tell me differently. And it comes back, once again, be prepared, be willing to learn, force yourself to learn, set goals. And the most important things about goals is to write them down. Don't put them in your head. Write them down so you can refer back to them. Goals are not to be meant to put in concrete. They should be flexible because things change. Life happens. That type of stuff. And, and first of all, but the best thing about goals, realistic goals and measurable. That's where I'd go with that.
Realistic and measurable, huh? I'm sure our students have heard a lot about those kind of specific and measurable type goals.
Yeah, well, I we call them SMART goals in
Well,
business.
that's
You
what I
probably
was
heard that.
saying. I was going to call it the specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and
Yeah.
time-based goals. But,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to educate all of YouTube with exactly the strategy that
Well,
we use.
don't give our program away, Mike. This is where I step in. Hey now.
I try to stay away from those abbreviations and stuff.
Yeah. So before I bring in, Angela's got a follow-up. Before I bring it in, did you want to add anything to that, Elonzo?
Well, what can I say that hasn't been touched on?
Right.
That's going to be a hard one. Only thing that I can say is going back. All I can do is just go back to the emotional intelligence piece. Is thinking about there's two sides to it. There's the leader, and then there's the team member. From a team member's perspective, you're going to deal with different personalities. You got to learn to adapt, read the terrain, being able to understand this quote that was given to me. You're going to be angry with a lot of people based on their level of professionalism. However, you have to learn to be professional first and be angry second. Take care of business, figure out a way to work with this person, given the trajectory of the project, of the deadlines, so that you can maneuver past these obstacles, even if a teammate is one, so that you can get the job done. You're going to maybe have to take on some of their roles, take on some of their responsibilities, but focus on the overall task and the end game and the end goals, so that you as a team may be able to grow and complete the mission, instead of focusing on the negativity that is emanating from this particular person. Now, from the leadership perspective, I'm thinking of you have to be, I don't know if anyone's focused understanding what management X and management Y is, the micromanagement versus having and giving your teammates, your team members a voice in all of this. You have to understand that attitude reflects leadership. If you're going to create this negative, toxic energy, based on what Dr. Johnson says, people who know their value, people who know what they bring to the table, they're going to leave. Those that are negative continue to feed into this toxic culture. They probably feel that they have nowhere to go. So they're going to stay and thereby continue to fester this environment, make it worse than what it is, devalue the culture. And also when I see this, when you see a lot of people or a lot of organizations saying sudden position is open or urgent need for X, Y, and Z, that's code for saying this environment is toxic. People are leaving and heading for the hills. So I'm just saying all this, there's knowledge being dropped here, but these are some of the things that I wanted to add as well.
I feel like you read the next question before I even put it up.
Didn't know what it was, but
Angela's follow-up is, how can we inspire positive change in team members to be motivated to reach higher goals?
Took care of that.
I'm not, yeah.
Elonzo took care of that.
But
Yes, he did.
That's amazing how related all of these individual things that we're talking about are.
Yes.
Is that we went from one question about, what was it about? It's way up here. I can't find it. We went from one question that Elonzo's response naturally segued into this before we even got to it. So I'll ask Dad or Mike if either one of y'all want to add on to.
I think Elonzo did such a good job there. There's probably a lot of questions, and I want to ask as many as possible.
That's what I was thinking. That was Elonzo did that one very well. So let me. I'm trying to find the next question. There's lots going on over here. I just got to your math question, so I got to get through all those bad answers.
Yeah, get through that. Yeah, I won't do that again. I promise.
Oh.
Well, I love the candor, because I see now where Chris gets it from, and he's going to have you as a dad. But no, I like people who give me from a drink perspective. People like things on the rocks. They like mixers. Yeah. I like it neat. I like it straight, no chaser.
Me too.
And this is what Dr. Johnson is providing, and his real honest candor about people shaking themselves out of mediocrity, shaking themselves out of leaning back and waiting for something to fall on their mouths like they're young chicks in the nest. Go get it. Go hustle it up. Shake yourselves out of that mediocrity and the desire to not go further than what you're capable of. And let's get the job done so you guys can become cloud hired and rise up. Cream rises to the top. Rocks sink. So be able to focus on what we're doing, focus on what Dr. Johnson has provided and what Mike brings every day. We got to shake ourselves up. Don't become mediocre. Just continue to excite yourself and create that energy for yourself. So not only can you do it for yourself, but you can bring that to the team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this next one I'm going to go to probably first.
Yeah. Make sure to read it out. So.
Apparently, there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Very true. Yeah. I have been told that many times. I flirt with that because I do not panic with difficult questions. Any advice? Okay, that's actually not what's going on here. People don't think you're arrogant if you don't respond, if you don't panic with difficult questions. In fact, it's desirable not to panic with difficult questions. And people that do panic with difficult questions are not even hireable or promotable because they're people that you're concerned about. What's going on is somewhere they feel you may not have exactly as much knowledge or efficiency in it as you think you do, and you're projecting too much confidence as if you typically, and I'm not saying exactly, but typically what goes on here is someone acts like they know it more than they do, and then they're confident in something where they may have some gaps. I've seen that a lot of times. Or it could be a body language thing. In the way you're responding to something, perhaps you're a little defensive on something and it's making you feel like you're arrogant. But no, it's normal not to panic with difficult questions. It's how do you react to the questions? Maybe you sound like you know it all, perhaps. It could be something like that.
When it could be as simple as, like you said, body language or tone, the tone that you use.
But also to flip that coin, it could be they're intimidated.
It could be that too.
Yeah, I've seen that. Sometimes you come with a lot of confidence. You come there ready to solve problems, and a lot of people they've gotten complacent in their jobs. And you come to a new environment, you start shaking it up by just sheer standards and execution, and that kind of puts them on notice. And so usually the defensive posturing of that is to say, you're arrogant. You can't come in here and shake things up.
Yeah.
One of those, you're not from around here, are you?
Yeah,
that right,
exactly.
When I'll have to go. I think I would go to the side of body language and the way you respond to it, the way you look. I've seen people the way they sit, like I'm doing. Well, you can't see it. I sit with my arms crossed a lot of times. People don't realize what they do a lot of times. They'll almost roll their eyes like a teenager when a question's asked, or they'll breathe out like, just real hard, like, I can't believe you asked that question type stuff.
Yeah. But Elonzo, you're looking at me
this is Chris.
Yeah.
That drives me batty a little bit, but he's so great in every way. I feel like it's just Chris.
Yeah. But so it's and it's a combination of both, and it's just something you have to work on. I enjoy people, and I love working with people who are confident in what they do, but it's presentation. How do you present yourself? Yeah. I think it's huge, and a lot of people don't understand that. They haven't been able to learn that, or had the opportunity to practice it and so forth.
Yeah. So there's a question, I can't find it right now. Again, just the sheer volume of things that are coming in. There was a question from Dylan Williams about, and this one's for you, Mike. You may or may not be aware. As far as cloud architect. Oh, do you know if there are any opportunities for cloud architects in military?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. Now, what those cloud architects will do in the military, that could be anything. So I don't think it'll be anything close to a civilian architect world. So typically what happens is any enterprise, military, corporation, they have their own cloud architects that work for their company to try and make sure that company adopts the right cloud. And then those architects will work with the architects at Microsoft or Google or AWS. They'll work with the Palo Altos and the Fortinets of the world and the Ciscos of the world and the IBMs and the Red Hat of the world. And together, they'll integrate a solution. That's what those architects do. Yeah.
And so the next one, Mike can answer specifically about the position, and if Dad or Dr. Johnson, I'm gonna have to figure this one out, will answer it in general terms. So from LinkedIn, Sunit asks, hello, Michael. Is there any age criteria to learn and get skilled in AWS solution architect? So Mike, you on the specific, Dad, you on the general age criteria to learn anything. So
Sunit, you can be a solution architect at any age. As it comes out, actually, in the next 2 weeks, I recorded the video this morning or yesterday. I made a video on how you can get hired for these positions at any age and how to use your age and the assets that you have at those age to make employers desire you more. So there's that. Now, Sunit, I have had people that are in their 50s getting great enterprise architect jobs or cloud architect jobs in my program, and they've never been architects before. And I had a 21-year-old Daniel Bosu recently get hired as the cloud architect, a very fine young man at 21 years old. He actually got hired at 20 and he started when he was 21 years old. So I have examples of that too, again and again. Here's what matters, Sunit, that you learn the job, you become incredibly competent in the job. And it's not just the tech, it's all the executive skills as well. The executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, sales skills, CXO relevancy, knowing how to deliver executive presentations, presenting a confidence, writing thought leadership documentation, entertaining clients. You get that and you master design and an end system design and presenting it and selling it to customers at any age, you will be incredibly in demand. Dr. Johnson?
Okay, from a business standpoint, I think when hiring managers, focus on age or say age is an issue and everything, I think that's a cop-out.
Yep.
Okay, number one. First of all, I think a 25-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 40-year-old, it doesn't matter to me about age. It is determination. It is the ability to learn, the ability to communicate that you can do this or have done this, that you have the skills to do the job. When somebody comes in and says, "Oh, they're too young to do it," I'm ready to dismiss them. I'm ready to fire those folks and everything. It's like, okay, you're interviewing the person, ask the right questions. Find out if they can do the blasted job. Just because they're 50 or 20, they can still, they're fully capable of doing it. So in general, I think when people use age as a reason not to hire somebody or not to even consider them, that's a weakness to that organization. And I think they're using that to just, I don't know if it's that they've had a bad experience or it's just their opinion, and we all know what opinions are, right? I won't go there. Okay. But, to me, age means really, it's not as important because I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to find out if they can do the job. I'm going to find out if they can be taught, and whether you're 50 or 20, can you do it? Now, if you're going to talk to me about being AWS solution, or I don't have any idea. You don't hire me. But even if I have the ability to learn it, you will see very quickly I don't have the drive. I don't have the determination. Yep. So that's what I look for: determination, drive, confidence, not arrogance. That's what I'm looking for. But I'll leave, like I said, Mike, I'll leave that to you about the technicality part.
Yeah, but it's about the drive. The energy, the enthusiasm. Daniel Bosu is a top 10% cloud architect, and he's just getting started. He's a fresh graduate and he's top 10%. Imagine.
He's a high school dropout.
Yeah, and he didn't even finish high school, and we helped him get that cloud architect job, and that's the key.
And not just any cloud architect job. He's a cloud architect with the largest bank in America.
Yes.
So
you're not going to hear too many college professors say this, especially business people and everything. A college degree is not everything.
No.
Yeah.
Now, people need to understand this. I think I alluded to it earlier. I'm going to look at what you did over your lifetime. Where have you worked? Did you work? What did you learn? What did you take away from being working for somebody that does lawns? What did you take away from that?
Oh, speaking of lawns, we got a landscaper hired.
Yeah, that's right. We just recently got a landscaper. His first was a cloud architect job or cloud engineer job. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
He was an architect.
But they had certain skills. They had certain things that people saw in them, but they didn't throw up something like age or a degree or whatever it is into it and everything. When you start doing that, you're going to lose out on so many good people, that's a weakness in hiring managers. And I guess I better be quiet. I might say something too much now. I'll let
No,
y'all. I'll
actually,
go.
I think
I wanna hear it.
there was a tech company many years ago that gave away the two biggest and most valuable tech inventions.
Yeah.
The graphical operating system and as well as Ethernet, because they thought they were bad ideas, the mouse and things like that. I always picture their boardroom being a group of people that went to the same college, that all went to the same golf course, that attends the same country club, and they were all the same person. Where if they had someone that was 75 years old that experienced this, and some guy from Greece, and some person from, I don't know, Nigeria, and some person from Turkey, and some accountant, and some of this, and they had all this wealth of experience and knowledge from all over the place, then they'd have looked at these things and said, what a treasure we have. And, been the most rich company in the world, because Apple took the graphical operating system and Cisco kind of capitalized on Ethernet. It was given away.
Yeah. So our
Can
next
anybody
question.
be an architect? Yes. Hearing requires selling ability, emotional intelligence, and managing people. Seems not an easy task from someone who's not from a management background. Pavan, doctors aren't born doctors. Lawyers aren't born lawyers. Managers aren't born managers. Airplane pilots don't know how to fly a plane. People get education for this. That's why we do what we do. We train people. Nobody can be a cloud architect on their own. Nobody can be a doctor on their own. They need education. That's why we do what we do.
My dad wasn't a college professor just because he got a college degree. He got an undergraduate degree. He couldn't be a college professor. He didn't know what was necessary to be a college professor, let alone the chair of a department. I mean,
By the way, I gave that up because I'm 64 now, and it's time to sit back, relax, have fun. So I guess I'm complacent. Here you go.
What
you work hard your whole life. That's the whole point.
You're complacent. You gave that up, but look at what you're doing now. Have you ever been on YouTube before?
No, man, you should have seen me on Zoom. I had to get Dr. Long to help me on Zoom, and she had to almost hold my hand. And then you had to send me a link.
Right.
And your mom had to do Excel. No.
So you gave that position up, but now you're doing something you've never done before.
Exactly.
And it's still benefiting people. It's still helping people. It's still educating people. So let me find. Oh, we just answered that question. It's still up. All right. Oh, here we go. We definitely need more of you.
Totally concur.
Yeah, that's what Up and Up says. We definitely need more of your dad.
Just put some margaritas in the red Solo cup, and I'll stay those 6 hours, Mike. I'll stay to midnight.
I'm gonna answer Devin Moore's real quick while you're looking for the next one. Devin Moore, a cloud architect, designs, presents, and sells. We don't configure, we don't code, we don't touch the technology. You'll be entertaining clients, delivering presentations, writing thought leadership, responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, writing papers, presenting at conferences, working booths, and you'll be designing systems. You will never touch the technology as an architect, so no, coding is not a relevant skill.
I love Marla's comment here. Tell us how you really feel.
There you go. You get what you get, Chris. You knew that before you asked me. You get what you get.
Now, if you
Marla is one of the most intelligent, capable, emotionally intelligent. She's got like CEO. That's all I see every time I see her. I respect her so much. And she senses your authenticity, which is exactly what I sense, which is what I like. And that's why I think people come to me, Mike, is this a good idea? Nope, but this is instead, because I don't beat around the bush.
Yeah, she says straight talk to prepare people for the real world, not a fantasy one. So anybody in our program that has had some experience with me, you kind of I'm a less diplomatic version of Dr. J here. So
take her to your mother.
All right.
I love it.
Let's see here. So Robert says, I love Dr. Johnson's perspective. This conversation is helping me truly believe in myself and what I'm doing to get better. Robert is a brilliant, I'll let Mike go. Robert is a brilliant security professional, and I'm glad that he is appreciating this content here.
He's a great security professional, and Robert, remember how great you are at it. So I need you to believe as good as you actually are. I know how great you really are.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I still have to go get back to you on that DLP paper you sent me because it's data loss prevention one. It's so good. I've seen it. You're capable. So believe in yourself and make the world see what we see.
We're seeing a lot of, I'm expecting a lot of great things from you, Bob. I know you probably don't know, but I go to your page to see what you're doing. You know, when we had that conversation in our class, just believe in yourself. Just remember that they're asking you to be a part of the organization. They just want to make sure you have the executable skills. If you're attracting this attention from the top large cloud service providers on the planet, it says a lot about your skill set and your capability. So remember, they're coming to you. You're not going to them.
Abigail or Tracy, I like that hashtag, CEO Marla. I'm all for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, just continuing. Oh, here we go. It starts off, sorry, Chris. Let's see what it says. Sorry, Chris, your dad shines over you today. He is the main character. We're going to take advantage every single minute of his time.
You should have listened better when you were in my classes.
Oh!
Well, I guess that beats embarrassing stories any day of the week.
I'm hearing the sizzle down there in Fort Lauderdale.
I will add to this. When you've got someone that's a real educator like Chris's father, and you've got someone like Chris, being the professor means you better turn in a better paper. Doesn't mean you get off easy. It means it needs to be 10 times better than everybody else's.
And he's already graduated with an MBA, and he's still going to school.
Yeah, well, he's not dead yet. You're not going. You quit learning when you die. Maybe.
You'll probably.
Maybe. We don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. Oh no. And I had him in high school too.
Oh man.
What?
I said I had you in high school also.
Oh
no,
wow.
I had you, young man.
The regiment. You will never escape, Chris.
So Derek asked, does your program cover any?
Oh, acronyms.
Oh boy. EA tools or principle or design in general? I don't know what
I think what he's talking about is some of these theoretical tools like archetype.
Oh, I was going to say A is near Q, so maybe he meant EQ, but I don't know.
No, Derek, we actually teach you how to design. I mean, really design. So I've built a lifetime of interacting with customers, for example. And we teach enterprise architecture. And just today, I had a student get hired as an enterprise architect. I had a student 2 weeks ago in Australia get hired as an enterprise architect. And I had another student of mine get hired as an enterprise architect. Because yes, we teach heavily into enterprise architecture principles. Now, what we don't do is teach TOGAF. And here's the reason why. I've been an enterprise architect now for effectively about 25 years now. And when people present with the TOGAF framework and this bus, and they talk to the customer about it, the customer goes, huh? So what I've done is most of my life, in order to make the customers understand, is take the stuff that the TOGAF people did, replaced it with real architectures, and then communicated something real to the customer. So we get lots of people in enterprise architecture jobs, but we don't do theory. We teach you how to be an architect, how to design the architecture, present the architecture, the whole skill set that an enterprise architect has. And that's why our graduates getting these positions are getting big, super high paying salaries, much higher than the average enterprise architect, because all the executive communication things we teach.
Follow up from Robert. Dr. Johnson, you are inspiring.
Hold on just a minute. Marilyn, did you hear that? I am inspiring. She just
I'm sure she had to filter her response to that.
Yes, she did.
That falls in line with the comment that somebody shared earlier, that they see where I get my wisdom from. I have wisdom, but they were crediting you for where it came from. I don't know if that's actually how that worked, but
we need to get the hip waders
you
out.
listened and internalized it. It became your wisdom too.
Yeah. That is your family culture.
That's the whole reason I tell people you don't have to start at the bottom. Listen to the people that have already done it. Let them follow their lessons, and then you don't have to make the same mistakes, which will take you 2/3 of the time or more to get
My
there.
goodness, that's a perfect point. You know what I tell these kids all the time? I say, go out and ask somebody to let you work for them for nothing and learn.
It'd be worth
Find
it.
out and go work for somebody. If you decide you want to own your own business, go work for somebody that's already doing it and learn before you jump out there and invest in it.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't walk in the door and do it.
Mm-mm.
You know, mentors are wonderful people. All you got to do is connect and ask for help.
And that's the entire basis of our program, is that it starts from the basis of mentorship and showing. I mean, I'm going to brag for Mike here, but where else can you have a 25-year professional expert for in networking and cloud computing mentor you and show you, do 3 live classes a week on how this stuff actually works?
Instead of pushing you through a program just to give you a certification and not real world experience and execution.
No,
I can print certificates off the computer.
Right. People ask us about a certificate for the program, and our response is that the job offer that JP Morgan Chase gives you is your certificate.
Right.
Exactly.
And remember when we were kids, we would get these things out of the cereal box, especially if we cut the little UPC code off the bottom of it and send it, and it's supposed to be something of value, but ultimately it was not worth anything.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So the other thing that I feel that's super important that we do is we don't run batches. We're not just trying to advertise it in, get people in and get them out, grind them out. You know, we let people stay up to a year if they need in our program until they're hired, because it's important to me that their certificate is they're hired. I mean, why else would we do it? What's the point of education if it doesn't keep you from getting to your goals?
And the best point is you're getting results and people can see the results. Word of mouth is the best advertisement for you.
Yep.
Look what he did for me.
Yep.
Exactly.
Go see him, go see them. They can help you.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. And that's invaluable. So
Yes.
there's a string of questions, but it gets very specific. So I'm going to stick it to the beginning because it gets too specific for us to be able to give a relative answer. And it's targeted to Elonzo, but I think many of us can speak to this. Ken Sherman, who shared a message earlier that he's excited to join us. I think I saw an enrollment email from him, so that was exciting. Says, back on EQ, emotional intelligence, how do you pivot around someone you're partnered with that you know isn't within the best interest of the goals? So, like someone that I don't want to say the C word, but somebody that's cancerous, somebody that's not performing, that's not upholding their responsibilities. How do you work with someone that you have to work with? I know we've talked about this before, Mike and Elonzo.
First of all, you got to understand that you're going to probably have to take on his role or her role or whoever's role. You got to understand that the project comes first. You're going to have to insulate yourself against this person by also leading by example to hopefully get them to subscribe to a better, more positive execution of professionalism. If that doesn't work, then sometimes you may have to communicate how you're going to be doing more of the work. I mean, sometimes there's no silver bullet for this, because when you're dealing with someone who doesn't want to learn, who doesn't want to be a team player, who doesn't want to be positive, who doesn't want to provide any of the things necessary to have a successful outcome for this project, you have to have some considerations of communicating to your boss that there may be some headwinds in the form of human capital that you're working with, and you may need to have someone else step in, or you may have to be prepared to do the work of 2 people so that you can be successful. I mean, there's different experiences that I've seen for myself as well, but those are some of the things that I think may be on the table ahead for that person. What about you, Dr. Johnson and Mike and Chris?
Well, I've taught classes before when I give them group projects, and I see this all the time. Somebody's not doing their part, won't step up, do their part and everything. And after I saw that happen, like 1 or 2 semesters, I changed the way that I approached the situation. What I did is I told those groups, I said, you have the right and you have the responsibility. If people are not doing their job, fire them. All you have to do, it takes a majority of the rest of the group members, fire them. But when you fire them, you are responsible for telling them they've been fired, and you need to tell them why they've been fired, because that's part of the learning process. At some point in your career, you're going to do that. And then I make it very clear, if a person is fired at whatever point in the semester, I hand them an entire new project and they get to do it all by themselves. Okay. Now, back to what you were saying is, in the real world, that's very difficult to do. But I will tell you this, if that person or people continue to exhibit that type of behavior, it is going to become very apparent to the leader or to the manager, or to the boss, whatever the word you want to use. And a good, strong person will address that issue. They will either train them, use it as a teaching moment, or they will terminate them. I don't have a problem terminating. People, I've had people that would offer to pay me to come terminate. It doesn't bother me. If they're not doing a job, out the door they go. But I'm going to give them opportunities to learn. I'm going to try to improve their behavior. But after a while, it's costing me resources. Not going to keep up with it. So, but here's the thing is, a good leader is going to take care of it. Mm-hmm. If the leader doesn't take care of it, that sends a strong signal to the good people in that group. And I promise you, if it continues to happen, like I said earlier, good people going to leave.
Yep.
So there's an important piece to this, and I think Elonzo mentioned it. A good leader will address it and will take care of it. But the good leader needs to be made known about it.
Yes.
Yes, you got to communicate.
You have to communicate that it's an issue. That doesn't mean that it's going to get taken care of immediately. So as Elonzo said, you need to be prepared for both communicating that this is an issue and doing what you have to do to get it to completion. But also communicate, hey, yeah, this is a problem. This is how we're addressing it right now, but this is a problem. It's going to continue being a problem, but yeah. So you can't just assume that anybody knows what's happening. You have to.
Yeah, but a good leader also needs to lay out what, if this happens, you need to let me know. I will take care of it. Because a lot of people, if they're not made aware of that, they go, well, I can't really go complain. Exactly. You got to send that message and make it clear, that if there's an issue, you need to come talk to me about this so it can be addressed. If not, the cancer is going to grow.
Yep.
And it's not going to go away. And it's going to cost money. I keep saying money, but you talk about productivity, you talk about emotional intelligence, you talk about motivation and desire and that type of stuff. It's going to eat it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, your good people are out the door. They will go. Recession or no recession, good people can get jobs.
Always.
Yes. They can also overall damage the brand if people get wind of it. Say, for instance, you have clients. I've seen even my wife, she's a management consultant. She's even seen consultants argue in front of clients when they have this type of toxic behavior, thereby like killing the project and the overall revenue. So imagine those particular clients taking that experience outside of that office and sharing it with their peers and everyone else. That's damn damage that could cost millions.
Exactly. I mean,
you get a reputation of being a bad organization to work for, you're not going to get any good people.
Exactly. Just a simple example. Let's say Reebok is looking for a marketing firm, and they've met with this marketing firm, and it's like they did exactly what you just described. You don't think Reebok, Nike, Adidas, Puma, all these people talk all the time?
Right.
Reebok is going back and telling every single person in the athletic field that this marketing firm is, you're my competition, but don't go to these.
See, that's a good point. People think competitors don't talk.
Right.
They think they're in their own silos. And in some cases they are, but they still communicate. They still meet. They still talk. They serve on boards together. They serve on nonprofits. They do all this and they talk.
And you extrapolate that to hiring also. Yep. We talk about people are so aggressively wanting to go out there and interview when they're not ready.
Yeah.
Right.
You take the same point to hiring. if you're not ready, you're burning bridges, and you're not just burning bridge at that single place. That recruiter that you worked with may represent, 4 other companies.
Yeah.
You just ruined that opportunity with those other companies.
Yeah.
So circling back to our discussion about hiring,
right?
But it is, and it's interesting because we had a fair number of students in the beginning that once they saw the resume training in our course, they're like, okay, they updated the resume and they're going out on interviews. And they'd say, Mike, what's wrong with my resume? And I said, nope, you didn't get to the resume section yet. Mm-hmm. And they said, but what? I said, the second you do this, you're going to be hammered with interviews. And they'd say, yeah, that's the whole goal. And I said, but you don't know how to design it, present it, or sell it yet. So what's going to happen? Now, ultimately, they went on 10 interviews and they all failed on all of them, and they came back and then they did fine. But, you can't advertise what you can't do.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow through.
Yep.
Exactly.
So our next one is from Joss or Joes. Is it a disadvantage to be naturally quiet, Mike, this is for you, and reserved for a cloud architect?
Well, truth be told, I'm naturally quiet. I'm actually an introvert. And one day, one of the VPs in NVIDIA came in and people said, can I learn to talk? And my manager, who used to be my manager, said, well, Mike, he's an introvert. You should have seen when I met him. And then he got me some coaching and did a few other very kind things for me. And then we helped each other out through our careers. So, yeah, you just have to learn. We're not born with skills. Nobody knows when how to fly a plane, be a doctor, be a pharmacist. We get training. So we can all be anything we want to be as long as we put our hearts and minds at it.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, you can ask my dad. I wasn't always the most outgoing person when I was younger. I became outgoing.
Same here. Yeah. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm introverted as well. But
my wife and I are complete opposites. She's an extrovert when she has to be.
Yeah, that's me.
And it's completely natural when she has to be. It seems so natural. But when she doesn't have to be, she's an introvert. Yeah. And I'm the complete opposite. I'm an extrovert all the time, except when I have to be. And then I just
that's interesting.
At a party, like my first introduction to my wife's family was at a Sunday brunch of 40 people.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be a Sunday brunch with her parents.
No pressure.
I became so, but I realized I had to be. And so that was my first introduction to all these people in their circle. So now they think I'm like the life of the party and so anytime we have get-togethers, they're always wanting to talk to me now. Truly, I just want to be an introvert.
And I was such an introvert that when I met my wife's family, and my wife has 16 first cousins, and it was like a scene out of the episode of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. This is Nick, this is Nick, this is Nick, this is Nick, this is Maria, this is Nicky, Nick, and Kotana, Koto, and Gus. And it was just like that. And I was like, I found my wife and her brother, and I'm hiding in a corner. It's just like, what are you doing? You got to meet everybody. And I'm like,
right.
You go to a light club? No, I just want to sit home and hug my cat.
Me too. Yeah. Sit my recliner in my robe. Yeah. There you go.
I love AJ's comment here about me and my dad. We can see the source code.
Yeah.
They can see. Yeah. They can see where my programming came from.
I see
where I got
there.
what I.
Translation, Dr. Johnson. We see you are the mold. You are the mold from Chris. That's
Alexander said, yes, it's like that. He knows exactly what I'm referring to with everybody having the same names.
Yeah. Well, when Chris talks, you need to get hip waders out.
Or you don't have to worry about your boots being shined.
There you go.
All right. So I'm trying to see if we've got.
Thank you so much, Marla.
Last questions. I think it's a good time to start wrapping up. Here's a good one for you, Mike. Pavan asked, how much of mathematics knowledge should one have to become a cloud architect?
Good question, Pavan. And I've been an architect for about 25 years. There used to be an American TV show called Mr. Ed, where they'd ask him to do 2 + 2, and he'd go, and he would do it with his feet, and he'd get to 4. So I am not Mr. Math. I would say that college algebra was something that I really struggled with, and I've been an architect forever. Now, here's the good news. The kind of math that we may have to do, like build the business case, the expected value of an opportunity, that's simple, just, arithmetic, and it can all be done in Excel. So not a lot of math, and that's the key, Pavan. We are not engineers. Engineers are math, engineers are coding, engineers are this. We are design, present, and sell. So we have to read a balance sheet. We have to read a financial statement. We have to be able to calculate if a hospital has 10,000 workers and we can save each worker 1 hour per day at $50 an hour. What is that worth to the business if we can do that? Because if that costs $1 million and we have tech that costs 500,000, but we can save $1 million, we can sell that technology all day long. So that's the kind of math we do, but we're not engineers.
In my world, I tell them, I said, it's not the math that you need to know. It's you need to know which formula to use.
Yeah.
You need to know what to use to solve the problem. The computer, once you plug it in like Excel or SPSS or SAS or whatever you choose to use, once you tell it what to do and put the information in, it does the math.
Yes.
Here's the most important thing I tell when I teach statistics, and don't fall out, Chris, but when I teach statistics, many professors teach, they make them work all these problems and all this kind of good stuff. A lot of times, here's what I do on a test. What technique would you use to solve this problem? Assume this is the answer. Tell me what it means and how you use it. Anybody can do the math.
Yep.
I used to tell Chris in his high school.
I got through statistics because it was actually relatable. It was.
I used to tell all these people, especially in the high school class that I taught, a fifth grader can do the math. A leader has to know how to use the answer. What does it mean? How is it applied? What do you do with it? Now, I don't know if that applies to the technology field or not, but it does in business, my area.
It does in every way.
Yeah. So I think
McBee said, like the directness for the sessions, straight talks is rare to find these days. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're coming to an end. So there's one last question that I was specifically saving to the end, and Ken
is that
just
the certification question?
CCIE versus CCAR.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep asking about the CCAR. So the CCAR is basically a worthless architect certification from Cisco, so much so that they've discontinued it. Now, it was not that the exam wasn't good. It was a deep architectural design technology exam. That was good. But here's the thing. Architects basically do most of their life presenting and selling and building business cases and entertaining clients and responding to RFIs and RFPs and RFQs. And when the company wants an architect, they want an executive and not someone that passed some architect certification. So while the CCAR was a great technology certification, at these architect levels, it's not about certification. So it fell apart and didn't matter. The reason the CCIE is so good is, which even though realistically speaking, it's a half design and half engineering certification, is the level of competency it takes to pass it is sky high. And typically speaking, all CCIEs know how to subnet, supernet, they understand BGP, they understand how to tune traffic and do traffic engineering. They know how to secure the system. So because of that, the CCIE is a very good framework for either architect or engineering positions. And here's the other thing about that CCAR certification. If nobody knows what it is, it's meaningless. Nobody knew what it is. It's out there, so nobody knows. Unless somebody was a certification junkie, it's not in CIO magazine of hire these people. So it's not something employers are looking for. So that's why I call it the worthless certification. Lots of hard work, lots of knowledge, but what's the point?
Yeah, the RIO is not there. There's no return.
The ROI is just not there.
You're going to spend months and months and months and beat your head against the
$40,000.
wall and pay for the certification, pay for the training, pay for the materials, lose the potential income because you're spending all this time trying to get this certification, and you're not going to get the return on it. So
Right. Think about how many days we talk about opportunity costs all the time, and think about what the breakdown of days are. Minimum $550, $570 per day that you're spending on a wasted or worthless certification or not focusing on the career that you want. And we constantly drill that in everyone, whether it be on the LinkedIn posts or any of the other platforms we have. So it's a continuous thing that we and all the students need to remember.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you what, too many people don't understand opportunity cost. And that's a good point. And I hope y'all stress that to your folks and everything, because if you're doing one thing, you're giving up the opportunity to do something else over here.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that. They think they can do it all. They can't.
And the biggest
there's limitations to everything.
And the biggest mistake we make is, instead of people focusing on becoming a master of their skills, they're busy learning everybody else's.
That's a waste of
All
time.
the time where they could get a competitive advantage, they're losing it by learning other people's things.
That's what we talk about. It's like they be the best cloud architect with the development program, or be the best cloud engineer with the development program. Combining the two is not going to compound your value or compound your ability to be a better one or the other. It's actually, it would cancel each other out. So focus on what you're supposed to do.
yeah,
You got too many people trying to do too many things, learn too many jobs, and then they're not good at anything.
That's the problem. Not good at
And they have wasted my time and they wasted my money.
And their time, effort,
and their time and their money.
Well, I understand
That's just it. We got to wrap up, I know, but that's just what blows my mind is trying to get people to understand how much opportunity they're passing up. Just simple math. Let's say you work 20 working days in a month, and it's $600 a day. What is that? 20 times 600 that's $12,000
a month.
$12,000 a month. If it took you a month to prepare for something that's not even related to your job and is not going to help you get a job, you just lost $12,000.
Yeah, but
minimal.
people do that for 4 certifications that are not related, because some certification provider said, here, it'll be good for you to learn everything, and I'll give you a cheap course bundle. Those people are costing them so much money. If they spend 3 months per certification for a year, they're costing them $150,000.
Right.
Opportunity.
The training material costs them $100, but you're studying all this stuff and you're missing $70,000 in half a year's pay or whatever.
Yeah, but when you do all these certifications and you get this worthless piece of paper and you go into to try to get a job with it, and everybody can see right through this plastic thing. Not only then you've wasted money, you've wasted time, but here's something else. Here's what a lot of people don't understand is now, what impact does that have on your mental attitude now?
Yep. You're exhausted.
Doggone, I just spent all this money over here. Nobody wants it. What do I do next? And you're sitting there, and there's other things other than just the money.
Yes.
It's that mental issues too that I call it.
Yes. Agreed completely. And at the same time, you've also branded yourself as something that is not what you're wanting to be, because you've gone out and done all this over here for this job that's over here. So now you've just made it even more difficult for other people that are going to pay you to actually hire you for what you want, because you've done all this over here. So it's my job to keep us in line and make us wrap up and start on time. So I'm going to make us wrap up here. And I know my dad's over there shaking his head. He's like, I can't believe this is his responsibility. It's like, yes, believe it or not.
It can't be mine. I'll totally not remember where I'm at.
So
I'm about to get in trouble. Yeah.
I'm going to let, if there's any last things that you want to share with us, Dad, Dr. Johnson, related to the topic of making yourself employable and retainable and wanted. If there's anything that you want to say to wrap that up, and then we'll go with Elonzo, and then we'll go with Mike to close it out, and I'll just sit back here and enjoy the conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna go with from the perspective that you've been laid off and you're looking for a job. Okay. Now we're going to be, people are going to tell you out there how hard it is to get a job and how difficult and all that type of stuff on one hand. And on the other hand, you're going to turn the TV on and all the politicians and news people are going to tell you how many openings there are out there and that type of stuff. Well, here's what I suggest you do. Yes, that shock of losing your job, being laid off, you don't get over that in a day. You don't get over that in 2 or 3 days. You need to take some time, breathe a little bit, sit down, think things through and that type of stuff. But then you need to get up off your rear end and start taking the steps that you need to do to get reemployed. Now, that can be many things. You got to work on your resume. You got to get it updated and make sure it's in the right format that the people that you are going to send it to are looking for. Now, those of you that are listening, you got a great resource here. These folks know what the tech people are looking for, so they can help you with that. There are some people out there that are hard-headed and say, I can do it myself. Put that away, go away. Okay, so get your resume in order. They can help you probably with the cover letters and so forth. Okay, so they're going to help you with that. You need to reach out to your people in your network, the people that you know, the people that you worked with in the past. Okay, now think about this. It kind of builds upon itself. If you have 3 or 4 people that you work for in the industry, how many does each one of those people know? So they can reach out to different people. Okay, I have a favorite saying. I know it doesn't come across very nice. Sometimes people have been put on this earth to be used. So use them. Use them to your advantage. Tell them what you're looking for. Tell them that you need help. Next thing is you need to reach out to people and ask them if they'd be willing to serve as a reference. Now, I know that sounds simple, okay? But you'd be surprised when I get resumes and I reach out to the references, they're no longer there. These folks did not even take the time to update the contact information of the references. So make sure that you do that. Another thing you need to be aware of is that when I get a resume and I said, I want to call and ask about Chris Johnson, he's got 3 people on there. Do you know what those 3 people are more than likely going to say? The most wonderful things in the entire world about him. I don't care what I ask. They're going to say good things about him because he's not going to put people on there that's going to talk bad about him. You need to be concerned about what I call the off-list references. Okay? That's the people when I call XYZ organization and I talk to them about Chris, here's what I normally do. When we get through talking, I tell them I appreciate the time and all that kind of good stuff. Then I ask this question. Is there anyone else there that Chris has worked with or had worked with that I might could talk with? And most people, oh, sure, he worked with Jim Bob or he worked with Susie. Let me transfer you. Now, here's what might happen. You and Susie had a falling out. Now they're going to get somebody that's going to talk maybe not so favorably about you. Here's what I do. I got 2 good ones. I got 2 bad ones. I'm moving down to the next person on the list. I'm not going to fight that fight. I encourage you, if you've had problems with people that you worked with in the past, to reach out to them, mend those fences, swallow your pride, fix it. This is your career you're talking about. This is your life that you're talking about. So fix those things and think about those off-list references. Okay? Chris, that's about all I got. I know we're out of time and that type of stuff. There's a whole lot more we could talk about if you want to, but we just don't have the time. And perhaps that's what you were looking for.
Perfect. I love the unfiltered, and I know everybody else appreciates
Great
it.
no chaser.
We want your perspective from your experience, and so thank you for that.
Series.
Maybe your mother will let me have a cold beer after I get off. She wouldn't let me drink one before I got on here because she's scared I'd probably get unfiltered.
I love it.
All right. So Elonzo, any last words before we give it to Mike to take it home?
So coming behind Dr. Johnson, Thunder,
good luck with that.
Great stolen. Coming behind this excellence right here. What I would definitely say is from an emotional standpoint, we understand you got laid off. Bad things happen. You have to lick your wounds. You have to really take the time to assess the situation. If you or someone that you know has lost their job, first thing they need to do is take a look at their resume. They need to also have a presence on LinkedIn. Start doing your research on websites like Glassdoor or whatever, so that you can try to get an understanding of how you can have your job replaced. Start doing the work. You know, you can't, you're down, but you're not out. So take the time to assess your damage, but also rebound off of that. Realize your value. Never take on someone's perceived value of who you are, but also reaffirm yourself that you are a good employee, you are someone of value, and you can be a massive contributor. Rebound from this. You know, you got knocked down, but you're never out. So just wanted to make sure that you understand your value, research, just reaffirm yourself and keep pushing forward. What about you, Mike?
Well, I do want to add something. Normally I don't, but I just, before we get to Mike, I do want to focus, you know, it's not just for people that might have been laid off. It's people that are trying to break into this field.
True. Very true.
You know, just because there may be certain economic situations doesn't mean that the things that we're talking about are any different. The same things that we're talking about for someone that may have been laid off, these are the same things that are going to help people that are currently employed and trying to get to their desired career.
Same thing.
It's the same exact things. And I want to make sure we don't focus just on the negative, but the people that are concerned about, will I still have the same opportunities that were there a year ago? And the answer is, if you do it the right way, yes, you will. Because the key is, if you do it the right way, then you're still going to be the cream, the top of the crop.
Very much.
And
so.
those are going to be the people that are going to get the jobs. The people that are not getting hired in difficult times are the people that aren't good quality candidates.
Right.
So
don't take a job just to take one.
Oh no.
You know, you don't ever want to do that.
Yeah, do it like Delroy and Daniel and the rest of them have said. They said, how many job offers did Delroy just not
He had
take?
3 of them.
Yeah.
And he took the best one. Daniel had several too, but he took the one that he wanted.
Exactly.
Your value.
But I wanted to just reference that these same tips, these same topics, these same points of concern are there for people that are not necessarily laid off or unemployed, but for people that are employed and looking for a promotion or are looking for a transition. Everything that we're talking about will get you to the top, and the cream of the crop is the ones, because even in a recession, even in a transitional economic state, whatever we're trying to call it these days,
get me started.
People are still being hired. They still have to hire people. Not everybody can be gotten rid of. Not every position can be gone. So the top of the crop is what's going to be what's going to be employed, and that's where you want to put yourself. That's all I got to say. I'll give it to Mike. Mike, I will let you take us home. And
I want to have probably one more discussion on how to increase your employability, because there's certain positions that are much less susceptible to being laid off.
Or a follow-up?
A follow-up discussion.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, because we could do 5 different versions of this.
I'd like us to have another one where we talk about the jobs that you can get more in the recession versus the people that are going to get laid off.
Yeah,
as well as that. So I think that would foster a good conversation.
Yeah.
But I actually got hired by one of the biggest tech companies in the world during a hiring freeze, because companies always need good people. No, it was the eeriest thing. I didn't know they were in a hiring freeze, or I probably wouldn't have joined at that time. And when I went there, I was like, "Who are you?" "Hi, my name's Michael Gibbs. I'm a new sales engineer." "Huh? We hired somebody? Oh my God, I haven't seen." Everywhere I went, I traveled all over the country, and they're like, "Oh my God, somebody's brand new." And the key is you can. And I've never been laid off. And like I said, I've only had one of the people that I've ever coached get laid off. He had a 6-figure severance package and a $300,000 job within a week, because he was great. And if you act with honor and integrity, and you have the right skills, and you've got the right attitude, skills and attitude alone, 99% of the population doesn't have it. I mean, they could if they want to, but it's that hard to hire somebody. I've done 5,000 interviews and found out 10 people that I liked out of them. And it wasn't because they weren't good people, and it wasn't because they weren't smart people. They just were skilled in every other person's job other than the one I needed them for. But do think about your network of people. It all comes down to your network. After 25 years, who could I not call? I've gotten hundreds of people, jobs I can't even count, maybe thousands. I've helped thousands improve their skills and get promoted through coaching and teaching that I did at some of these organizations when they had me in training positions. I can't even know the impact, and I can call some of these people and say, please help me. Now, I'll tell you what, I've led large teams, and when the team was successful, I made sure they were the ones that got promoted. They got promoted, and inadvertently I did too, but I didn't care about me. I cared about them. When I build a team, I want people that are smarter than me in the room. I just want to be able to be the person that finds the smartest people. And if they can make me look stupid, that's okay. They make my business or my team better. That's great. I need that. But, you know, that the way you treat people, it carries with you. You know, as Dr. Johnson said, who are the secondary or tertiary things? Because when you call an employer, the employer can't say anything negative for fear of lawsuits, but the employees can.
Yep.
And the only good thing about references is, to me, is at least they can produce three. It shows me that somebody's not antisocial or a psychopath or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that they're actually, you know, looking resumes. I know where they worked. I can get an easy story about someone's background when they worked. I know people that work in all these companies. We've all talked. I've worked in them. Good leaders work for lots of these companies and have experiences they know. So don't leave a negative trail. Don't leave a trail of bodies beneath you. Don't leave anybody that can say anything about you. I remember there was one time in 20 some years where I had a problem with somebody that I just couldn't solve on my own. And I went to my manager and explained the problem. And the same person was another good, who was responsible, went to his manager and explained the problem, different managers. And my manager said, what's up? And I said, look, we can't figure it out. I said, he's smart, he's capable, he does the right thing, he cares about the company, but we're just not clicking. And he goes to his manager and said, you know, I can't figure it out with Mike. He's smart, he's capable, he cares about the company, and I trust him, but I need help here. And when the outsiders come, because sometimes it takes a third party to get involved, I made the guy look great. He made me look great. We ended up becoming friends. But it was the point that I didn't try and crush him just because we are different. I just tried to say, hey, help me. And he just tried to do the same thing too. So don't do things that hurt other people. Don't put yourself forward at somebody else's expense. Don't put somebody else down to make yourself look good. These things not only help you get not laid off. Heck, when I do an interview, if there's a receptionist, if the person delivers a good interview, I go ask that receptionist, how was this person to you? How was this person to the people in the waiting room? And if they say very good, I say, okay, thank you. And if they say, honestly, they were a jerk, I tear up the resume, because that person doesn't have true honor, and that honor means everything to me. So that's my perspective. So I guess I should remind everybody that if you want to learn how to get your first cloud architect job, join us in the completely free webinar this Thursday. The link is in the description below. If you don't follow us on LinkedIn, please do so. We're going to be producing lots of blogs and a lot more YouTube videos, so please follow us and subscribe on YouTube. But we're going to be distributing that content on LinkedIn. And if you're trying to get your first cloud architect job, we've got a cloud architect career development program for you. And if you're trying to get your first cloud engineer job, we now have a really great cloud engineer career development program too, to help you get your first cloud engineering job. I thank you for being here. I really thank Dr. Johnson for being here. And of course, you know, Chris, thank you for everything you do to make sure everything runs smoothly. I've actually reached out to your father on LinkedIn in the past to actually thank him for raising such a good son that was so helpful. Yes, I did. And Elonzo, my good friend, thanks as always. Good to see you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.